Starting a renovation project? Start right. Start here at H&L Rapid True Value for all your essentials at our 10 stores island-wide. The time by H&L Rapid True Value is
nationwide time 5 o'clock.
Crisp and refreshing. Room temperature or chilled. A pure water would drink. The temperature by Pure Water is
32 degrees Celsius in Kingston, 29 out west in Montego Bay.
From the Nationwide News Network, comprehensive, incisive, tough. This is Nationwide at 5.
Good afternoon, I'm Ricardo Brooks.
And I'm Robian Williams.
In Nationwide News at this hour, the Finance Ministry has finalized the Public Sector Compensation Review.
This marks a significant milestone in the journey embarked upon approximately 7 years ago when unions and the government agreed to the restructuring of the compensation system for the public sector.
EPOC reports increase in government revenues after missed targets for 2023-2024.
7-year-old boy involved in high-powered weapon seizure and his siblings are now in state custody.
The child and his siblings have since been taken into the care of the CPFSA and they will receive the necessary counseling.
St. James vendor caught on camera urinating in bottle faces fine of up to $1 million or 12 months in prison.
15 named as persons of interest in Kingston 13.
In news from the rest of the world, the Bahamas Public Hospitals Authority has confirmed the deaths of 2 individuals who were on board a plane that had to make an emergency water landing this afternoon.
Pope Francis has urged U.S. Catholics to vote for the lesser of 2 evils.
In headline sports, 2 Jamaicans earn wildcards to next year's Tokyo World Championships after grabbing Diamond League titles in Brussels today.
And later in our broadcast, in the cover story at 5:35, several public entities have been using the Data Protection Act to block access to information. What exactly should that act be protecting? We'll hear from the country's Deputy Information Commissioner David Gray.
In Public Opinion at 6:26, we ask which parish has the most polite people. Give us your comments by logging on to our Facebook page, Nationwide News Network, and by tweeting us at Nationwide Radio and message us on WhatsApp at 876-285-5693. You can also leave your comments on Instagram at Nationwide 90FM.
In the nation's business at 6:40, after years of negotiation, the government has completed the public sector compensation restructuring exercise. The president of the JCTU, St. Patrice Ennis, will join us.
And at 8, it's the A-Team with Dennis Brooks.
All these and more as we take you home on air on your mobile, Nationwide 90FM, Nationwide Radio, JM.com, and on the Nationwide app, available on the Google Play and the App Store. This Friday afternoon, it's Friday, September 13, 2024.
News at 5 is brought to you by Fostrich Company Limited, fostering rich customer service.
If it's news, it's got to be Nationwide 90 FM.
Now to the details. After years of negotiation, the government has completed the public sector compensation restructuring exercise with one of the largest grouping of trade unions in the country. Finance Minister Dr. Nigel Clark inked the final deal with the Jamaica Confederation of Trade Unions, the JCTU, on Thursday. Siobhan Campbell tells us more.
The government had announced its intention to restructure public sector compensation well over 5 years ago. The aim was to normalize and streamline salaries across the public sector, simplifying many of the disparate allowances and benefits. Work got underway in 2022 after the country emerged from the COVID-19 pandemic, with a general agreement inked the year after. Finance Minister Dr. Nigel Clark says the government and the JCTU, which represents 11 trade union groups, have now come to terms on several outstanding matters.
The Ministry of Finance and the Public Service and the Jamaica Confederation of Trade Unions concluded the agreement and items carried over from the implementation of the new compensation structure for the public service with a signing of a heads of agreement on September 12, 2024. This marks a significant milestone in the journey embarked upon approximately 7 years ago when the unions and the government agreed to the restructuring of the compensation system for the public sector. The mutual achievement on behalf of diligent and hard-working public sector workers who continue to contribute to the advancement of Jamaica is highly significant.
The finance minister says the just signed agreement restructures conditions of service, including overtime and other non-salary issues.
This agreement complements the compensation restructuring agreement, which was signed 2 years ago and which was implemented over the 3-year period inclusive of fiscal years 2022-23 to fiscal year 2024-25. And this agreement, signed yesterday, restructures conditions of service, including compensation for extra hours worked, among other conditions of service.
Dr. Clark says the process of restructuring is evidence of the country's ability to put itself on the right track.
Though these negotiations have required many rounds of discussions, which have taken many months and have been challenging and difficult at times, they've always been conducted professionally and respectfully. It took tremendous determination on the part of both parties and a solution-oriented atmosphere where concerns of both parties could be aired and addressed. This entire process has again shown our capacity as Jamaicans to continually improve our country through social dialogue, a capacity that is institutionalized in our structures and systems and that will serve Jamaica for decades to come.
Siobhan Campbell for Nationwide News.
Meanwhile, President of the JCTU, St. Patrice Ennis, says despite the protracted delays in finalizing an agreement with the government, the umbrella group is pleased with the outcome. He concedes that while not all items on the agenda were fully realized, the best possible outcome was secured for all partners involved.
We are very much pleased to have an outcome like this. Most of the things that we were having discussions on, we were able to make some compromise, which ended up with this agreement, which I know and we have cited that all the parties, including the minister and his team, worked very hard to achieve. I believe this is something that generally the public sector workers can live with. To the other trade union members, the respective members of the Confederation of Trade Unions who worked hard in achieving this, kudos to them and also the minister and his team, because it was not easy, and I have said it was something that was happening now for several months, and so we're very happy to have concluded this.
St. Patrice Ennis, president of the JCTU. The JCTU represents 11 trade unions, including Bustamante Industrial Trade Union, National Workers Union, and the Jamaica Civil Service Association.
Government revenues have rebounded after missing the initial targets for fiscal year 2023-2024. That's according to the Economic Program Oversight Committee, EPOC. EPOC says the government was ahead or within target for its fiscal benchmarks for the fiscal period ending in July. The committee released the new data at its quarterly media briefing today. Mahiri Stewart tells us more.
The Ministry of Finance in April revealed that government revenues underperformed for the financial year which ended in March. Government revenues for 2023-2024 were $97.5 billion, or 11.8% ahead of the prior fiscal year. But this was still $22.4 billion less than budgeted. However, data reviewed by EPOC for the quarter ended in July show revenues already ahead of target.
Tax revenues actually surpassed budget by $3.7 billion, or 1.4% for the review period. This was primarily due to stronger than expected total income and profits, which was $5.5 billion, higher than budget. We recall that at the end of March, income and profits were below budget as corporate income taxes were lower than targeted at the end of March. There was some discussion around timing. However, as we see at this point in time, that the income and profits was $5.5 billion higher than budget.
However, due to the impact of Hurricane Beryl and other emerging fiscal realities, Mr. Duncan expects a supplementary estimate to the budget to outline the changes in the government's spending priorities.
We do expect that we will have supplementary estimates somewhere between September and October. We know that we expect the interim fiscal policy paper, which is due in September, to be produced in short order. The supplementary estimates will have to incorporate the fiscal impact of Hurricane Beryl, the revenue measures which were announced by the Minister of Finance in his budget presentation, and the other emerging factors that may influence Jamaica's fiscal outlook.
And Mr. Duncan has raised concern about the slowing economic outlook. Jamaica's economic growth is estimated to have stalled for the April to June quarter, with a further contraction expected for the period ended in September. The EPOC chairman is urging the Bank of Jamaica and the government to craft effective policy to drive growth.
EPOC strongly encourages the GOJ and the BOJ to optimize the fiscal and monetary policy mix, which may require some fiscal adjustments accompanied by more aggressive easing of monetary policy and interest rate reductions in order to maintain macro fiscal stability and to proactively move Jamaica back into the medium-term growth range of 1-2%.
Mahiri Stewart for Nationwide News.
Meanwhile, EPOC Chairman Keith Duncan is urging the Bank of Jamaica to be more aggressive in reducing interest rates. Mr. Duncan says driving interest rates down will be key to spurring economic activity.
We expect that the Bank of Jamaica will continue their easing monetary policy. They have started easing monetary policy. We expect that BOJ will continue to ease monetary policy, and we expect further reduction in interest rates from the Bank of Jamaica. So we have observed that there's a downward trend in inflation. It's within the range for the past 5 months, and this demonstrates the effectiveness of BOJ's monetary policy actions in recent years. So inflation has been targeted. Inflation is within the range where they were able to drive up domestic demand, and they'll be able to slow growth in monetary policy.
The Bank of Jamaica's current interest rate is 6.75%. That's down from the 7% rate maintained for nearly 2 years. Adjusting interest rates is the key tool utilized by the Bank of Jamaica to fight inflation. However, Mr. Duncan believes with inflation tamed, the central bank can afford steeper cuts in interest rates.
EPOC believes that the Bank of Jamaica needs to look at balancing inflation and growth. The Bank of Jamaica is quite focused on inflation targeting, but we believe that the BOJ's mandate could possibly take into consideration balancing inflation targeting with the growth dynamics of the economy, especially given that Jamaica has a little margin for erosion of growth as the economy normalizes its long-term growth rate of 1-2%.
Keith Duncan, chairman of the Economic Program Oversight Committee, EPOC. He was speaking at a quarterly media briefing on Friday.
The Child Protection and Family Services Agency, the CPFSA, says the 7-year-old boy who was found in possession of a submachine gun on Thursday is now in the care of the state. The boy's siblings have also been taken into state care. CEO of the CPFSA, Lauret Adams Thomas, says the children will receive counseling and psychosocial support going forward.
Any child who has open access to a firearm or moreover is found with one in their possession, that child has had their well-being jeopardized and is therefore considered to be in need of protection. As soon as this incident was brought to our attention, we launched our first responders team to the location to ensure that the well-being of the child as well as the other children in the home were safeguarded. The child and his siblings have since been taken into the care of the CPFSA, and they will receive the necessary counseling and psychosocial support they need.
Adams Thomas is reminding parents of their responsibility to ensure that children do not have access to dangerous or illegal items.
It is imperative that parents be more vigilant about checking their children's bags before they go to school to prevent them from taking dangerous or inappropriate items with them, be it weapons or pornographic materials or drug-related items. These things do not only put your child at risk, but it can also endanger the lives of other children as well as teachers at the institution.
Lauret Adams Thomas, the CEO of the CPFSA, members of the public are being encouraged to report any and all forms of child abuse using the 24-hour child abuse reporting hotline 211. Child abuse reports may also be made via WhatsApp or text at 876-878-2882 or email report@childprotection.gov.jm or by visiting any CPFSA parish office or through the agency's social media pages. You're listening to the news on Nationwide at 5. We'll have more after these.
Value Drug Pharmacy offers curbside pickup and delivery of your branded and generic drugs. WhatsApp your prescription to 876-881-6695. The time by Value Drug Pharmacy is...
It's 14 minutes after 5.
Rentokil Initial offers air purification solutions with triple filtration and unique auto-sensing capabilities that neutralizes malodor and replaces it with clean air. Call Rentokil Initial at 926-4236 for more details.
The temperature by Rentokil is
32 degrees Celsius in Kingston, 29 out west in Montego Bay.
Energize your life the right way with DBJ. Yeah, you must can save enough energy solution. Choose one today for your house or your business. Money I go save. Yeah, DBJ. DBJ. Energize your life the right way. The Development Bank of Jamaica Limited is here to help you with the purchase and installation of renewable energy systems to help you save on your energy bill. Contact your business banker or bank today. Energize your business or home the right way with DBJ Energy Loan.
Continuing the news, political commentators are urging the opposition People's National Party (PNP) to detail their plans for the country's finance and education portfolios should they form the next government. The comments come as the party prepares for its 86th annual conference on Sunday. Shalois Michael has more in this report.
The high-stakes gathering is being billed as the PNP's last conference before next year's general election. Political commentator Sewell Anglin says the issues plaguing the education sector and the imminent departure of Finance Minister Dr. Nigel Clark are strong talking points for the party to address.
I'm particularly interested in what is going to happen on the finance and the education side. We're going to be changing like Minister of Finance and stuff like that. I think the education ministry continues to struggle. We're continuing to see where the results coming out of the latest CAPE and CXC results when it comes to maths and English and science, they're still very low, even though that extends across the Caribbean. So I'm hoping to hear more from the youth, kind of challenging the current administration on what are the plans to ensure that coming out of next year CAPE and CXC results, what do we have planned for our children to make sure that they're doing a lot better in very critical areas.
Fellow commentator Sondre Roden agrees.
Even though the government is putting together their plan based on their strategic review of the education sector and their committee, etc., the People's National Party has to also show that they have some plan for education, because you're in opposition, you're setting up yourself to be government if you were to win. National security, we definitely want to hear about that. We see basically we can call it terror attack. That's it's veering a little off from gang violence, and that means there are questions as relates to national security. Health, of course, that's something that will always be a talking point.
Mr. Roden added that while the JLP has had a successful run in its finance ministry, the departure of its portfolio minister should create an opening for the PNP's own future plans.
Really difficult, I would say, for the People's National Party to really back against the Jamaica Labour Party as it relates to finance. It's been really difficult over the last couple of years, in my estimation, because not only has the finance minister been on top of things, the issues that would have plagued the finance minister over time would be compensation review, public sector issues, not really finance matters. No, there should be a change in finance minister very soon. I see that as a point for the People's National Party to have that leeway, that in between, to speak about what they plan to do. That this is the vision as it relates to the economy, this is the vision as it relates to finance of the country.
Shalois Michael for Nationwide News.
World in a Minute is brought to you by ABC Electrical Sales. We make things as easy as ABC. Hose Assembly and Supply, equipping Jamaica for success.
And Charles O'Connor Consulting Network, COCN, driven by international accounting standards, modern technology and integrity.
The World in a Minute.
The Bahamas Public Hospitals Authority has confirmed the deaths of 2 individuals who were on board a plane that had to make an emergency water landing this afternoon. They confirmed that the other 4 persons on board are being treated in the hospital and are currently in stable condition. The plane landed in waters near New Providence. No other details have emerged.
Pope Francis has described the choice U.S. voters must make in the upcoming presidential election as one between the lesser of 2 evils. CNN is reporting that the leader of the world's 1 billion Catholics argued former President Donald Trump's anti-migrant policies and Vice President Kamala Harris's support of abortion rights as both being against life. Francis has been more vocal about politics than his predecessors and has moved to make the Catholic Church more open. He has previously weighed in on political issues, signaling more progressive stances by allowing priests to forgive abortions. Pope Francis has also authorized the blessings of same-sex couples and repeatedly warning about climate change.
World in a Minute was brought to you by ABC Electrical Sales. We make things as easy as ABC. Hose assembly and supply, equipping Jamaica for success.
And Charles O'Connor Consulting Network, COCN, driven by international accounting standards, modern technology, and integrity.
Recapping the top stories making nationwide news at this hour, the Finance Ministry has finalized the Public Sector Compensation Review.
EPOC reports increase in government revenues after missed targets for 2023-2024.
7-year-old involved in a high-powered weapon seizure and his siblings now in the care of the state.
Political commentators say PNP should address finance and education at Sunday's annual conference.
I'm Ricardo Brooks.
And I'm Robianne Williams.
Listeners, you can find the news on our website at nationwideradiojm.com and on the Nationwide app, available on the Google Play and the App Store. News next, the headlines at 6.
News at 5 was brought to you by Fostrich Company Limited, fostering rich customer service.
Bank of Jamaica is committed to its mandate of managing inflation, or the general level of price increases, within the target range of 4 to 6%. There has been some success in achieving low and stable inflation, but from time to time, factors including weather and global events may influence prices higher. BOJ is assessing local and international risks to inflation and will take the best decisions in an effort to keep price increases low and stable in the interest of all Jamaicans. A message from Bank of Jamaica.
It's hard-hitting. It's riveting. It's the much-talked-about cover story during Nationwide at 5. Here Cliff Hughes get to the heart of the story of the day. Cover Story aired 5:30 weekdays during Nationwide at 5. Nationwide at 5. Talk radio at its best. Cover Story.
Cover Story is brought to you by JTA Credit Union, serving our members, impacting lives positively.
Multilink, roll with control. Use Multilink, safe, fast, and accepted in more locations.
Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to Sports here on Nationwide 90 FM. I'm Wayne Walker. Akeem Blake and Tajay Gale were today crowned Diamond League champions for 2024 on day one of the two-day finale in Brussels. Blake, competing in his first ever Diamond League final, won the men's 100 meters in 9.93 seconds, destroying a quality field that included two former world champions, Christian Coleman, who was second in 10 seconds flat, and Fred Curley third, 10.01.
Coleman gets out fast as you'd expect. Blake is right there with him as well. Fred Curley with some work to do. It's Blake and Coleman in the front at the moment. Coleman might just have this one. It's going to be close, but Blake hangs in. Blake gets the win.
Gale, the 2019 world champion, produced one big jump on his third attempt to win the men's long jump with 8 meters 28. Kerry McLeod was fifth, 7 meters 85, and the Olympic silver medalist Wayne Pinnock was sixth, 7 meters 43. Natoya Gould Topping finished a creditable third in the women's 800 meters in a minute 58.94. The Kenyan star Mary Mora won in a season's best 1 minute 56.56 seconds. Shanika Ricketts had to settle for second in the women's triple jump with 14 meters 22. Akeelia Smith finished the third, 14 meters 11. Frederick Dakers landed 61 meters 63 for fifth in the men's discus. The Olympic champion Matthew Denny won with a new lifetime best, a meet record and national New Zealand record of 69 meters 96. Sydney McLaughlin Livrone won the 400 meters invitational in 49.11. Stacey and Williams finished second in 50.56, and Stephanie and McPherson was fourth, 51.24. McLaughlin Livrone says she's just having fun.
Just wanted to get one more. I was hoping to go a little bit faster, but I think the weather was definitely not on my side today. But just happy to be here, get the experience, race in Europe. It's an amazing crowd, and yeah, just having some fun. Excited for the 2. I got to go rest up so I can get ready.
That's Sydney McLaughlin Livrone. I've heard her say she's going to get some rest for the 200. She comes back tomorrow for the 200 meters. 9 more Jamaicans will be in action on Saturday's final day of the meet. Among them are Kieran Nugent, Daniel Williams, that's Daniel Williams for you, Jermaine Beckford, Rashawn Clark, Malik James King, Michael Campbell, Rajendra Campbell, Cheyenne Summon, Andrewnette Knight, and Genevieve Russell. And the Olympic champion Julian Alfred won the women's 100 meters today in 10.88 seconds. She beat Dina Asher-Smith into second in 10.92, and third was Marie-Josée Talou from the Côte d'Ivoire. Shakira Richardson was sixth.
Away first time, really solid start from Asher-Smith, but so was Alfred, and Alfred giving it all here and using that power. Coming back is Talou-Smith, but look at the run there from Dina Asher-Smith to get close to Julian Alfred. Wow! And where was Shakira Richardson?
She was down the track, brother. Down the track, man. All right, so let's give you some updates on the schoolboy football matches on the minute. Frome, they lead Cambridge by 1-0. So we're giving you the Costa Cup matches first. Frome leading Cambridge. These are updates, right? Not final scores, not results. Frome, they lead Cambridge by 1-0. Denby, they're leading Claude McKay by 5-0. Old Harbour, they're leading Winston Jones by 5-0. And Ocherase, they're leading Marcus Garvey by 6-1. That's the last scores we heard from those games. In the Manning Cup now, Vauxhall, they were leading Kingston Tech by 3-2. Camperdown were holding a 1-0 lead over Haile Selassie. So too Woolmers over Denham Town, and Eltham High School, they were holding a 4-0 lead over Arden High School. Hopefully we'll have the final results for you in our next sportscast at 6:05. Managing Director of J. Ray and Nephew Limited, Daniel Caron, says their continued sponsorship of the Jamaica Premier League is part of the company's commitment to nation building. The 2024-25 season of the country's top flight will kick off on Sunday with 4 games. Tivoli Gardens will take on Arnett in the second game of a doubleheader at the Tony Spalding Sports Complex before, let's give you those again. Portmore United and Mount Pleasant are scheduled to meet over at Ferdinand Park. Vere and Mobay United will meet over at the Wembley Centre of Excellence. And just going back to the first set of games, Waterhouse will take on Dunby Holding, and Arnett Gardens. It's Waterhouse against Racing and Arnett against Dunby Holding. Now, Karen says since they began the partnership with the JPL last year, they have witnessed the league's remarkable growth.
As we step forward into our second season with the JPL, our shared goal is to ensure that each player has the opportunity to excel and for the league to become recognized as a viable career path for players, coaches, and administration. To the teams preparing for this season, remember, your best is always enough. We eagerly anticipate seeing your skills, teamwork, sportsmanship in action starting on September 15th. So here's to a great and successful 24-25 Ray and Nephew Jamaica Premier League season.
Karen says the Ray and Nephew football program also has the commitment to elevate the quality of football's technical development in Jamaica.
Through the Ray and Nephew School, a football partnership with the JFF, up to 500 coaches will be trained annually, spanning from D to A CONCAFA licenses. This comprehensive training will equip our coaches to operate at international standards, fostering a new era of football excellence in Jamaica.
That's Mr. Karen from Ray and Nephew. The 9th edition of the ICC Women's T20 World Cup is less than 3 weeks away, and to celebrate the beginning of this special event, the ICC launched a series of campaign films, Whatever It Takes, starring superstars like the Indian captain Harmanpreet Kaur, her teammate Shafali Verma, and the Sri Lankan captain Shamari Atapattu. The film is a celebration of the women's game and showcases their inspiring journeys of big successes and overcoming even bigger challenges. It also captures the excitement surrounding the tournament, which will be played from October 3 to 20, and the Whatever It Takes campaign embodies the spirit and objectives of the ICC's women's cricket strategy, which aims to grow the women's game by improving its visibility, perception, and awareness for cricket fans around the world. And that's sports. We're going to be back with more at 6:05.
Can you imagine getting a marketable skill for free? Your government has made it possible for anyone wanting to learn a skill to get free training through the Heart and STA Trust. Learn a new skill and expand your horizons.
The time by the Office of the Prime Minister is
5:30.
On Sunday, August 11, in the quiet community of Cherry Tree Lane in Clarendon, our entire nation was shaken by a brutal act of violence.
Gangsters mercilessly took the lives of 8 innocent Jamaicans, including a 7-year-old boy and several women.
These criminals will strike again, destroying more families and more communities unless we stand together to stop them.
If you have any information that can help bring these killers to justice, please share it with the security forces.
The government has established a reward fund of $25 million for information leading to the arrest and charge of the perpetrators who committed this heinous act.
The facilitators who supplied them with arms, intelligence, and transportation.
Those who harbor and protect these criminals after the crime.
If you know something, say something.
Call Crime Stop at 311, MOCA at 888-6622-847,
NIB at 811, or the JDN at 837-8888.
Together, we will defeat the gangs and develop a culture of peace in our country.
The proceeding was brought to you by the Ministry of National Security.
Yes, Kemlani Mart is making deals.
Really? Deals like what?
On scratch, dented, new furniture and appliances.
Oh, that's great.
And that's not all. Kemlani Mart has tiles, toilets, doors at crazy low prices.
So I can make a deal on a sofa set?
Of course, and dining room sets, outdoor furniture, ACs and more. No reasonable offer will be refused.
Only at Kemlani Mart, Manor Center and 77 King Street.
I love this place, you see. Exciting news! The Design Studio Nationwide 90 FM just got a whole lot bigger. Join us this and every Saturday now from 1 to 3 p.m. for an exclusive show that elevates your home, mind, and soul. Discover the latest interior design trends to create your dream sanctuary. Unlock your true potential with personal growth strategies. Nourish your body and spirit with expert wellness tips. Don't miss out on the inspiration you need to live your best life. Tune in to the Design Studio this and every Saturday from 1 to 3 p.m. and take the first step towards a more fulfilling you.
Make me sweat, make me harder.
Get ready for a show like no other. That's right. Every Sunday from 8:15 p.m. to 9:15 p.m., we're bringing you the Harvest Hour, only on Nationwide 90 FM. Join us as we dive into a soothing religious program created for your mind, body, and soul. The World Harvest Mission Church, creators of the Harvest Hour, is dedicated to making your Sundays God-fearing and saintly. Get a front row seat to moving sermons and affectionate worshiping. That's the Harvest Hour, every Sunday from 8:15 p.m. to 9:15 p.m. only on Nationwide 90 FM, the new revolution in media.
Good afternoon to you. Thank you so much for joining us here on Nationwide at 5. this Friday afternoon. It's Friday the 13th. You know, if you're superstitious, they say that's kind of spooky. Yeah? But
are you?
I know everybody's God bless, so we don't fear those things. I'm Ricardo Brooks.
My name is Sanjay Lewis. How are you, Ricardo?
All right, you know, Bugs and Dana still not give me the curry chicken and the ackee and corn pork yet. But
you still on that? Okay.
Yeah, they promised me they're not giving me, so, you know, I go have them up feet, see me.
Oh, boy. Anyways, listeners, it's cover story time. And for the cover story, we'll be looking at the Data Protection Act and its use by some government bodies to block certain ATI requests. And Nationwide News recently submitted an access to information ATI request seeking clarification on how much is being paid in salaries and benefits to the acting director of public prosecutions, Claudette Thompson, and her immediate predecessor, Paula Llewellyn. But the request has been met with a wall of silence. The Public Service Commission has cited the Data Protection Act as its reason for declining to provide details of the salary arrangement for the two senior prosecutors since Ms. Llewellyn stepped aside. Dana Davey has more.
The Data Protection Act was passed in Parliament in 2020 and became effective December 2023. The regulations serve as a guideline for the lawful handling of personal data and the protection of information to safeguard the rights and privacy of individuals. The Access to Information Act of 2002 grants citizens and other persons with the legal right to obtain access to an official government document which would otherwise be inaccessible. Our news center submitted an ATI request seeking answers from the Services Commission regarding the salary arrangements for Acting Director of Public Prosecutions Claudette Thompson and her immediate predecessor Paula Llewellyn. In a written response to our news center, Human Resource Information and Development Officer at the Commission, Jacqueline Bell Rowe, says the Data Protection Act prevents the disclosure of the arrangements in place regarding the payment of salaries and benefits to both Ms. Llewellyn and Ms. Thompson. She specifically cited the second schedule of the Act. That section bars the revealing of data processed for the purposes of considering a person's suitability for judicial office. The Commission is also relying on a section of the Act which bars the disclosure of data relied on for management forecasting, especially where that disclosure would be likely to prejudice any other activity. The Commission has not clarified what activities it believes would be prejudiced by revealing if and how much Paula Llewellyn was being paid while she remained out of office and how much her replacement is being paid. It's not the first time the Data Protection Act has been used to block public access to information of national importance. The Act was cited recently when the Tax Administration of Jamaica declined media queries regarding the owners of properties it had spent millions to lease but had yet to occupy. The Office of the Information Commissioner has stressed that the Data Protection Act cannot be used to frustrate transparency. The Act establishes the Information Commissioner as the country's data and information regulator. Dana Davey for Nationwide at 5.
Thank you, Dana. So, this afternoon we want to look at the scope of the Data Protection Act and what exactly it covers. For that discussion, we're joined by Deputy Information Commissioner David Gray. Mr. Gray, good afternoon. Welcome to Nationwide at 5.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon to your listeners.
Thank you so much for joining us. So, the Information Commissioner says that the Act cannot be used to frustrate transparency. Yet in at least 2 instances now, we're seeing public entities using it as a sort of coverall to deny what on its face would be basic information that's being requested. Help our listeners to understand the scope of this Act.
Well, firstly, I am not in a position to say that the public entities are using it to frustrate what may be simple information that is being required.
Mm-hmm.
Because before we get to that point, we first have to understand that the Data Protection Act seeks to protect the privacy of data subject rights. And in so doing, all data controllers are required to process data in keeping with the standards under the legislation, as well as upholding the rights of the data subject than others. Now, in observing the right, and we will agree that there is no absolute right.
Right.
The law affords certain exemptions, and the exemptions under the Act are applicable in specific instances. Now, the information to which you speak of, I will have to make it abundantly clear that we are not seized of that information, and we do not have the facts surrounding it. And as a result, as an office, I could not give a comment on whether or not the public entity has utilized the legislation to its fullest and in keeping with it. So I am not in a position to say whether or not it has been applied in its correct sense or its incorrect sense. Because as an office, we do not have the facts.
Fair, and that's fair. So let me help. Let's look at the second schedule specifically, because that is what has been cited, right?
But again,
No, I'm not going to ask you to comment on the specific instance, because I understand you don't have that information. But what I want you to help our listeners to understand is how the second schedule was intended to operate. It speaks to miscellaneous exemptions, confidential references, the Jamaica Defence Force, judicial appointments, public service employment and ministerial appointments, and management forecasts. So if you could help us understand how this schedule was intended to operate.
All right, well, firstly, before you get to the schedule, the section of the Act that grounds the second schedule is Section 42. And it sets out that the matters in the second schedule shall be exempt from the provisions of this Act to the extent specified in that schedule. Right? So it's exempt from the provisions of this Act. Right? So what it's implying is, if it is that the personal data or information is to be given, you have to apply the exemptions as afforded to it.
All right. So when you use that term, Mr. Gray, personal data, what constitutes personal data? Because my listeners would think I'm a taxpayer, I pay public servants, their salary, surely, and how much they're being paid couldn't constitute personal data?
Well, before you get to that, personal data is defined under the Act.
What's the definition?
And it says, means information, however stored, relating to a living individual or an individual who has been deceased for less than 30 years. And that information can be used, that information or that information alone can identify that data subject.
Let me ask it another way then. Let me ask it another way. Would you agree then that the expectation of privacy for entities or individuals entering into government contracts or those working in government would be less, because government contracts, those working in government, it requires a level of openness for transparency and public accountability?
As what our information commissioner would have said previously, it is not intended to frustrate transparency. But you also have to balance, as all legislative provisions would insist, you have to balance it with what the law affords it. So, yes, one could say that the information that is being asked is freely to be given. But you have to now balance that by looking at your legislation to see if the legislation has put any restrictions on how to proceed.
And when the Office of the Information Commissioner, I'm sure you've assessed this by now, when you look at that balance, do you think what you found is that there's a fair balance struck between the need to know and access to information and what the Data Protection Act is seeking to protect?
As a public officer who is entrusted with regulating a piece of legislation, I don't really issue a comment on how it is to be applied or how persons perceive it to be applied. I deal with the facts as stated in the statute and applied as per the statute. So I wouldn't be the most appropriate person to give a definitive statement to you in relation to that question to which you are asking.
So am I understanding you correctly then, Mr. Gray, that even where you may think that the balance is, unfair, you're saying that you understand your job as only to apply it without regard for that consideration?
My personal view would not be applicable in that case. I am looking purely, and I'm speaking both as a regulator and as an attorney, to apply the law.
Right. And so my question is, has the office come to a position on that? Or you're saying you will not take a position as an office?
I wouldn't be the most appropriate person to alter the policy as stated in the law.
All right.
This is a policy position.
Hold it there for us. We're up on the break. We're speaking to the Deputy Information Commissioner. Concerns about whether the Data Protection Act is being used to bar access to what people believe is just public information that should be available. Soon come.
Clearing personal non-commercial shipments at the port? Avoid the wait. Request a contactless clearance through your agent today. It's more efficient. It's secure. The time by the Jamaica Customs Agency is
15 minutes to 6.
Upgrade your kitchen and bathroom to the next level with Unique Living. They're the ultimate destination for all your kitchen and bathroom needs. From luxurious shower systems to exquisite faucets, vanities, sinks, toilets, closets, and more. They have it all. Visit shop number 6, 30 Dunrobin Avenue, Kingston 10, or call them at 876-755-3661. Elevate your space with Unique Living, where quality meets expectations.
For all your electrical needs, visit ABC Electrical Sales. They stock a wide variety of electrical supplies including plugs, switches, panel boards, and conduits, plus energy-saving fixtures. ABC Electrical Sales stocks brands like GE, Siemens, Philips, Cutler Hammer, and Allen Bradley. They also offer free island-wide delivery just to suit your needs. Visit them at Shop 8, Hagley Park Plaza, Kingston 10, or call 876-754-3714-5 or 876-754-3825-8. ABC Electrical Sales, for a better choice in the electrical business.
Thank you so much for staying with us here on Nationwide at 5. It's the cover story. I'm Ricardo Brooks.
And my name is Sanjay Lewis.
We have with us the Deputy Information Commissioner David Gray, trying to understand the scope of the Data Protection Act and how it applies to access to information requests. Mr. Gray, earlier you defined how the Act categorizes or defines rather what is data.
Personal data.
Personal data. Okay, just remind us of that definition again, please.
Means information, however stored, relating to a living individual or an individual who has been deceased for less than 30 years, who can be identified from that information alone or from that information and other information in the possession of or likely to come into the possession of the data controller, and it includes any expression of opinion about that opinion and any indication of the intentions of the data controller or any other person in respect of that individual. That is the full definition as per the Act.
No, I know we would have, here in Jamaica, tried to get very close to the international standard as it relates to data protection. What justifies such a sweeping definition?
Again, the Act, as you know, would have gone through a legislative process. It would have gone through a joint select committee where the provisions would have been examined by a joint select committee of the Parliament, and the Parliament would have agreed on these terms, which would then be enshrined in the legislation. So again, the legislation is what has been approved as policy by our Parliament.
But go ahead, Sanjay.
There seems, though, to be some confusion as it relates to that very section, Section 2 of the Act, because that is what most of these government entities are utilizing to deny requests under the Access to Information Act. Is it that your office have been approached by any of these entities to provide some clarity as to how they should provide information under this Access to Information Act?
Several state entities and private sector entities have sought clarity in relation to how the Act is to be applied, and we have freely given that information.
What has been the guidance that you provided?
Let me finish. Now, you have to remember that it's a case-by-case basis, and it would be in keeping with the specific question asked. So, as the initial treatise by the Commissioner, it is not to be used to frustrate transparency. Right? But you now have to be guided by the specific question and how that specific question may be answered in relation to the statute.
But Mr. Gray, is that approach sustainable though? If it is that the office is going to constantly have to field case by case specific queries and questions, is that something that you can over the long term keep up with?
Or why not just provide a broad-based approach to the government entities so that they can respond when the access to information request is sent by various entities?
As again, you see, there is no general answer to any legal question. One has to look specifically at what is being asked. So there is a general rubric. Does it fall within any exemptions? And what information may be available, which will guide you as the regulator, as the legal officer in an entity, as a legal firm who may be called upon to give advice, to indicate to their data controller or other person who may ask the question, to indicate to them that in giving your answer, this is applicable. Because remember, while you deal with the matter of transparency, there are protections in relation to certain privacy matters.
Fair. But on the operational side, though, having to field the requests on an individual case-by-case basis, is that something the office is prepared to do over the long term? Is that sustainable?
That's a part of the functions of the Commission itself.
Okay.
To provide that information to everyone that may approach your office, Mr. Gray?
Multiple persons can write to the office, and the office may have to and will have to field the questions as they are asked.
And you don't think that it's unsustainable?
We may have to issue guidance notes to assist, and guidance notes have been issued thus far in relation to the matter of registration. So over time, guidance notes may be developed as is in other jurisdictions. Remember, our act is very new.
And just help me, Mr. Gray, those guidance notes now would be of a more general nature?
Would be of a more general nature because there may be specific things that are asked which you will not be able to utilize a general description to respond.
Okay. In terms of how long you usually take to assist in terms of guidance when you get these responses or requests rather, on average, about how long do you take to respond?
Well, it depends on the quantum of research which may be necessary, but we do try to respond at least within 30 days.
Okay. And as you just said, this is a new act. Your office is a new office, and obviously there's some amount of building out that has to happen. How far along are you in terms of building out the office?
Well, we're at an advanced stage. We're going through the process of registration now. Registration of data controllers.
Okay.
Which is one of the big steps that we have to take in keeping with this legislation.
Yeah.
And given that there is a gray area as it relates to the provision of information through the Access to Information Act, do you think it's necessary especially to get information about government contracts, which many times media entities, private individuals will try to get that information. Do you think that there needs to be guidance, a broad-based guidance sent to government entities to allow for the process and allow for us to get that information?
Again, we have started from an assumption that there is a hindrance to the giving of information.
There is. There is a hindrance because, and we have seen examples. Nationwide has an example. The Gleaner gave an example, but we're not speaking about those particulars, which is why I asked a broad question. So I'm not assuming the facts are there.
No, but what I'm saying is each case will have to be looked at on its merits. And in looking at it on its merits, we'll have to look at how any specific provision of the legislation may impact the answer.
Okay. Let me ask the question this way then, Mr. Gray. Surely in assessing your new act and the implementation, you would have considered how it intersects with the Access to Information Act, yes?
And that is correct.
Right.
But remember now, this would have been what went through the legislative process. And
I appreciate that. But we know that when legislation is passed, sometimes there may be need for revisions. And as the regulator, I imagine you're going to have an outsized role in terms of recommending where you think it needs to be revised, if you think so. So what I wanted to find out was, having looked at where these two pieces of legislation intersect, have you found any instances that you think you may need to refer back to the policymakers to say, this requires more attention?
Well, the policymakers went a little further than that, so that it's not only reliant on the office as the regulator. Section 77 of the Act was written in that this Act shall be reviewed every 5 years from the earliest date appointed. So while we will be making recommendations in relation to the provisions of the Act, the journalistic profession and all other entities also have ample opportunity to make their recommendation.
Right, and I appreciate that.
And if it is the considered view from the general public and stakeholders is that the Act is not assisting in the quest to achieve the Access to Information Act and its provisions, then let us suggest the amendments, let us go through the legislative process, and the Act would be reviewed, and at the end of that process, there may be additional provisions that are put in which may make certain things much more straightforward and assist the various public.
Considering that the implementation has been delayed or was delayed, how does that affect the review period? Does that push
No. It says from the earliest day appointed. The earliest day that was appointed in the Act was 2021. So we are already gone 3-4 years, almost 3.5 years into the provisions of the Act as it now exists.
So exempting some people from having to follow through, as we saw, does not affect the appointed date, is what you're saying?
There are exemptions under the Act which may or may not be applicable or have been applied, which may be which may, when it is reviewed, be found to be correct or incorrect, as I don't have the facts.
Right.
Those provisions can come up for review in the process as I outlined before, and may be changed by the policymaker.
Okay. Well, Mr. Gray, I'll certainly be passing on to you our request for you to have a look at our specific questions to the Public Service Commission and their cited response, so you can offer us further guidance on our request.
Well, we would certainly look at it, and in so doing, we will see how best to issue our response.
And we appreciate that. Thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it.
All right. Have a very good afternoon.
You too,
and your
Mr. Gray.
listeners.
Thank you.
Thank you. The very same to you.
That's David Gray, Deputy Information Commissioner in the Office of the Information Commissioner. I suspect that this is going to be a challenge going forward.
Yeah.
It really seems like they're citing it as a blanket objection. I mean, I submitted, I think probably 10 questions or 8 questions, Sanjay. And every single one of those questions, Schedule 2 was cited as barring a response.
Which
and I
is
was
my
asking
concern,
basic
Ricardo.
things.
Yeah.
The salary of the DPP is already known. It's not a secret. I simply wanted to know whether the DPP is being paid her salary and whether the acting DPP is being paid a part thereof, and also what is the status of the DPP. On what basis did they appoint an acting DPP?
Which should be public information.
One would think so.
And we would hope.
Yeah. So I will definitely follow up with Mr. Gray. See if we can
I
get
agree
any
with you
further
though,
clarity.
Ricardo, that Section 2 of the Act is broad.
The schedule, yes. The second schedule, yes.
The second schedule, I beg your pardon, which is why I asked him, why not provide guidance to the different government departments so that they're clear as how to respond when these requests are sent to them. I don't see what is so hard in that to do, to provide that general response. I can understand case-by-case based requests that may be sent to them for further clarification.
Yeah.
But it would prevent the number of requests that would be sent to them on a daily basis.
I extend some grace because obviously it's a new office and they have to set it up. And then, of course, once I get that guidance from Mr. Gray, then the next step now is to go to the ATI tribunal. And from reporting elsewhere, we know that tribunal is not currently constituted. So that's another problem with this matter of access to information, which is very important. And I would hope the information minister would move swiftly to ensure that those vacancies are filled, because people deserve to know, yeah?
Yep, agreed.
All right, 6 o'clock, time for the headlines. That's the cover story.
The time brought to you by Guardian Life. Live secure, live easy is...
A minute after 6.
Nationwide headlines at 6.
Good evening with the headlines at 6. I'm Mahiri Stewart. The female vendor captured in a video urinating in a plastic container near the Charles Gordon Market in St. James has been slapped with 6 charges. The elderly woman, whose name has not been released, will appear in the St. James Parish Court on September 25. She faces a fine of up to $1 million or 12 months in prison. Acting Chief Public Health Inspector for St. James, Sharika Lewis, says the vendor was charged under the Public Health Food Handling Regulations.
This person has been charged and will attend court at the end of this month. There were 6 charges to include having no food handler's permit and also contaminating food items and the vehicle used to transport food.
In a nearly 2-minute-long video, the elderly woman is seen urinating into a half-cut plastic bottle. After wiping herself with what appears to be a rag, she then transfers the contents to a plastic bottle. She then walks away without washing her hands. When confronted about the incident, the woman cited a recent knee surgery as the cause for her actions. Speaking at the monthly general meeting of the St. James Municipal Corporation on Thursday, the acting chief public health inspector also raised several concerns about the Charles Gordon Market.
lack of security and pet proofing. There were stray animals observed, and also that the area is accessible to loiterers and scavengers. There are also insanitary conditions at the fish market and meat market, and the main concern is the fact that the market vendors are outside of the approved vending areas, and based on this, it is contributing negatively to the aesthetics and the overall condition of the market space.
Sharika Lewis, Acting Chief Public Health Inspector for St. James. The St. Andrew South Police Division has named 15 residents of Kingston, 13, as persons of interest. The individuals were to report to the Hunts Bay Criminal Investigation Branch by 6 p.m. on Friday. They are Ramon Moody, otherwise known as Prezi, Mark Legore, otherwise known as Rat, Dane Smith, otherwise known as Macedon, Imani Daly, otherwise known as GG or Brogad, Alric McCallum, otherwise known as Bulla Boy or Ali, Dane MacDonald, otherwise known as Little D or Bad Kid, and Marcus Brissett, otherwise known as Beezy. Also listed are men known only as Tweety, Lavar, Roach, Rasta, Brown Chops, Kemar or Wani, Bubba, Fubu or Damien's son. Detectives say they believe the named men may be able to assist with their investigations into various incidents in the division. They are asking persons with any information on the whereabouts of the men or any illegal activity within the area to contact the Hunts Bay Police at 876-923-7111, 119-311, or the nearest police station. After years of negotiation, the government has completed the public sector compensation restructuring exercise with one of the largest grouping of trade unions in the country. Finance Minister Dr. Nigel Clark inked the final deal with the Jamaica Confederation of Trade Unions, JCTU, on Thursday. The government had announced its intention to restructure public sector compensation well over 5 years ago. The aim was to normalize and streamline salaries across the public sector, simplifying many of the disparate allowances and benefits. Work got underway in 2022 after the country emerged from the COVID-19 pandemic, with a general agreement inked the year after. The finance minister says the government and the JCTU, which represents 11 trade union groups, have now come to terms on several outstanding matters.
The Ministry of Finance and the Public Service and the Jamaica Confederation of Trade Unions concluded the agreement and items carried over from the implementation of the new compensation structure for the public service with a signing of a heads of agreement on September 12, 2024. This marks a significant milestone in the journey embarked upon approximately 7 years ago when the unions and the government agreed to the restructuring of the compensation system for the public sector. The mutual achievement on behalf of diligent and hard-working public sector workers who continue to contribute to the advancement of Jamaica is highly significant.
Dr. Nigel Clark, Minister of Finance. The Child Protection and Family Services Agency, CPFSA, says the 7-year-old boy who was found in possession of a submachine gun on Thursday is now in the care of the state. The boy's siblings have also been taken into state care. CEO of the CPFSA, Laurette Adams Thomas, says the children will receive counseling and psychosocial support going forward.
Any child who has open access to a firearm or moreover is found with one in their possession, that child has had their well-being jeopardized and is therefore considered to be in need of protection. As soon as this incident was brought to our attention, we launched our first responders team to the location to ensure that the well-being of the child as well as the other children in the home were safeguarded. The child and his siblings have since been taken into the care of the CPFSA and they will receive the necessary counseling and psychosocial support they need.
Mrs. Adams Thomas is reminding parents of their responsibility to ensure that children do not have access to dangerous or illegal items.
It is imperative that parents be more vigilant about checking their children's bags before they go to school to prevent them from taking dangerous or inappropriate items with them, be it weapons or pornographic materials or drug-related items. These things do not only put your child at risk, but it can also endanger the lives of other children as well as teachers at the institution.
Laurette Adams Thomas, CEO of the CPFSA. Those are the headlines at 6. I'm Mahiri Stewart. Sports is next.
Does your bra ride up your back? Do your shoulders hurt from carrying the weight of your breasts? These are signs of an ill-fitting bra. When was the last time you were fitted by a bra fit specialist? The bra experts at LaBelle Femme will take care of you. Drop into the store at 53 Lady Musgrave Road, Tuesdays to Saturdays from 10 to 5, and you will see the difference. Or call 876-622-6091.
We can light up your world with the rays of the sun, putting pure energy in the palm of your hand.
For over 20 years, Fosrich has been putting a world of energy in your hands. Now we bring you big savings with our line of solar energy products and LED lighting. Financing now available for all your home and commercial retrofit projects. Consult with our in-house staff or certified professional engineers for all your electrical needs. Fosrich Lifestyle. It's electric. Fosrich, your energy world.
Good evening with your sports report. I am Alric Swaby. We start with track and field as Akeem Blake and Tejay Gale were today crowned Diamond League champions for 2024 on day one of the two-day finale in Brussels. Blake, competing in his first ever Diamond League final, won the men's 100 meters in 9.93 seconds, destroying a quality field that included two former world champions, Christian Coleman, who was second in 10 seconds flat, and Fred Curley, third in 10.01 seconds.
Coleman gets out fast as you'd expect. Blake is right there with him as well. Fred Curley with some work to do. It's Blake and Coleman in the front at the moment. Coleman might just have this one. It's going to be close, but Blake hangs in. Blake gets the win.
Olympic champion Julian Alfred won the women's 100 meters in 10.88 seconds. She beat Dan Asher-Smith into second in 10.92 and third Maria Jose Talou. Shakari Richards finished sixth.
Away first time, really solid start from Asher Smith, but so was Alfred, and Alfred giving it all here and using that power. Coming back is Talou Smith, but look at the run there from Dina Asher Smith to get close to Julian Alfred. Wow! And where was Shakari Richardson?
Gale, the 2019 world champion, produced one big jump on his third attempt to win the men's long jump with 8.28 meters. Kieran McLeod was fifth with 7.85 meters, while Olympic silver medalist Wayne Pinnock was sixth with 7.43 meters. Natoya Gould-Toppin finished a credible third in the women's 800 meters in 1 minute 58.94 seconds, as Kenya's Miriam Moray won in a season's best 1 minute 56.56 seconds. Shanika Ricketts had to settle for second in the women's triple jump with 14.22 meters, while Akila Smith finished third with 14.11 meters. Frederick Dakers landed 61.63 meters for fifth in the men's discus, as Olympic champion Matthew Denny won with a new lifetime best, meet record, and a national record 69.96 meters. Sidney McLaughlin-Lerone won the 400 meters invitational in 49.11 seconds, as Stacey Ann Williams finished second in 50.56 seconds, and Stephanie Ann McPherson fourth in 51.24 seconds. McLaughlin-Lerone says she's just having fun.
Just wanted to get one more. I was hoping to go a little bit faster, but I think the weather was definitely not on my side today. But just happy to be here, get the experience, race in Europe. There's an amazing crowd, and yeah, just having some fun. Excited for the 2. I gotta go rest up so I can get ready.
9 more Jamaicans will be in action on Saturday's final day of the meet. Among them, Akiwa Nugent, Daniel Williams, Jermaine Beckford, Rashawn Clark, Malik James King, Michael Campbell, Rajinja Campbell, Cheyenne Solomon, Anjanette Knight, and Genevieve Russell. Glasgow's protracted bid to rescue the 2026 Commonwealth Games has taken a further twist after Australian authorities promised a multi-million pound investment to help finalize the deal. Earlier this week, it emerged that the UK government offered £2.3 million to help cover safety and security costs associated with the scaled-down privately funded event, but asked the Scottish government to match that figure. However, Holyrood politicians remain concerned by what Cabinet Minister Neil Gray called the reputational risk and the financial risk of the bid. Glasgow hosted the Games in 2014, but the 2026 proposal would feature 10 sports across 4 venues instead of the 18 that took place a decade ago. While the stasis continues and the timescale becoming increasingly pressing, Commonwealth Games Australia have offered to bridge any shortfall. They have told both their Scottish counterparts and the Scottish government that they are prepared to invest some of the compensation they received when the Australian state of Victoria withdrew as host last year due to financial issues. On to football, as Old Harbour and Denby registered big wins in the Issawater Da Costa Cup football competition this afternoon. Old Harbour crushed Winston Jones 5-0, so too did Denby over Claude McKay. In other Da Costa Cup results, Central topped Thompson Town 1-0, Ocherius slammed Marcus Garvey 6-1, Frome turned back Cambridge 1-0, and Green Island turned back Nakalva 3-1. In the Manning Cup, Vauxhall outscored Kingston Tech 3-2, Camperdown tagged Haile Selassie 1-0, and Wolmer's beat Denham Town 2-0. Managing Director of J. Ray & Neville, Daniel Coran, says their continued sponsorship of the Jamaica Premier League is part of the company's commitment to nation building. The 2024-25 season of the country's top league kicks off on Sunday with 4 matches. Tivoli Gardens take on Mullines United in the first match of a doubleheader at the Anthony Spalding Complex before home team Arnott Gardens face Dunbeholden. Meanwhile, Portmore United welcome Mount Pleasant at Freddie Newton Park, and Vere United play Montego Bay United at Wembley Centre of Excellence. Karan says since they began their partnership with the JPL last year, they have witnessed the league's remarkable growth.
As we step forward into our second season with the JPL, our shared goal is to ensure that each player has the opportunity to excel and for the league to become recognized as a viable career path for players, coaches, and administration. To the teams preparing for this season, remember, your best is always enough. We eagerly anticipate seeing your skills, teamwork, sportsmanship in action starting on September 15th. So here's to a great and successful 24-25 Ray and Nephew Jamaica Premier League season.
He says the Ray and Nephew football program also has the commitment to elevate the quality of football's technical development in Jamaica.
Through the Ray and Nephew School, a football partnership with the JFF, up to 500 coaches will be trained annually, spanning from D to A CONCAFA licenses. This comprehensive training will equip our coaches to operate at international standards, fostering a new era of football excellence in Jamaica.
Daniel Caron. The English Premier League returns after the international break with 8 matches. Manchester City haven't tasted defeat in the Premier League since December 2023 and are aiming to extend that remarkable run against Brentford at the Etihad Stadium tomorrow morning at 10. The Citizens have made a perfect start to 2024-25 as they search for a 5th successive Premier League crown, swatting Chelsea, Ipswich Town and West Ham United aside with little fuss. Erling Haaland has found the back of the net in all 3 triumphs and has already produced 2 hat-tricks this term. City's manager Pep Guardiola says it's always tough going up against Brentford.
I don't remember an easy game against Brentford. Never ever. Since we were promoted in a Premier League, and I don't remember. Always have been tough here and there, so it will be an exception. They changed a bit the shape. I've had the feeling that play a little more this player style when it was in the Championship. We want to mold the process before we know Ivan Toney was maybe more direct. They can do it because they have a fast players, strong players up front, but they have a really, really good process in the build-up. And the high pressing is It's unbelievable. It's man to man, so aggressive. And after when defense so tight, so compact, really well organized in the transition set pieces. It's a complete team.
Pep Guardiola. In the other fixtures, Southampton welcome Manchester United, Brighton are at home to Ipswich, Crystal Palace take on Leicester City, Fulham host West Ham, Liverpool host Nottingham Forest, Aston Villa play Everton, and Bournemouth face Chelsea. Now to cricket, as the 9th edition of the ICC Women's T20 World Cup is less than 3 weeks away. And to celebrate the beginning of this special event, ICC launched a series of campaign films, Whatever It Takes, starring superstars like Indian captain Harmanpreet Kaur, her teammate Shafali Verma, and Sri Lanka captain Samari Atapattu. The film is a celebration of the women's game and showcase their inspiring journeys of big successes and overcoming even bigger challenges. It also captures the excitement surrounding the tournament, which will be played from October 3 to 20. The Whatever It Takes campaign embodies the spirit and objectives of the ICC Women's Cricket Strategy, which aims to grow the women's game by improving its viability, perception and awareness for cricket fans around the world. The 18-day event will be played across 2 venues in the UAE, Dubai and Sharjah. 10 teams have been divided into groups of 5 each, with the top 2 teams from each group going on to play the semi-finals. The semi-finals will be held on October 17 in Dubai and October 18 in Sharjah, with the final being played in Dubai on October 20. And finally, in horse racing, the Trevor Mackenzie Trophy race headlines Sunday's 9-race card that came on a spark. 12 horses have been nominated for the 5-furlong race for a purse of $1.25 million. Money Market, the mount of Paul Francis for trainer Gary Sobrati, is among the favourites for the race, named in honour of 3-time champion jockey Trevor Mackenzie. Mackenzie won the Jockeys' Championships in 1965 at age 17. He won it with a then record 60 winners from 236 rides. The following year, 1966, Mackenzie that year created history by becoming the first jockey to be nominated as Sportsman of the Year. He won his 3rd title in 1968. He started to have weight problems and migrated to the USA in 1974, where he worked as exercise rider for some of the top stables at New York tracks, Belmont Aqueduct and Saratoga, moving up to be assistant trainer before retiring some 6 years ago. Mackenzie was inducted into the local Racing Hall of Fame in 2006. He is, of course, the son of another former champion rider, Reggie Mackenzie, who won 5 riding titles at Knutsford Park between 1937 and 1945. I'm Alric Sribi, and that's your sports.
For all your scales and food processing equipment, call Advanced Scales and Equipment Limited at 876-968-9612-5. The time by Advanced Scales and Equipment Limited is
6:21.
With so much to do in one location, make Megamart your one-stop shop. Pick up your groceries and houseware needs, grab a bite and pay some bills, fill your prescriptions and see the beauty products in our pharmacy. All in one amazing location. My Megamart, the best value by far.
Former staff of Jamaica Mutual Life and Jamaica Mutual Properties, or beneficiaries of the pension schemes or their next of kin or beneficiaries of their estate, are invited to contact Guardian Life at 12 Trafalgar Road, Kingston 10, or 876-927-4105, extension 2794, or GLL Pensions at myguardiangroup.com to make arrangements to claim their pension and or any other benefits payable.
Pack it on a budget, so me reach KFC. New crunchy box meal. That a for me a piece of chicken, 2 wings, biscuit, and a drink. Crunchy box of the flavor, so we make the lid. Value for your money, flavor and the taste. KFC, country box run the place. So much variety, the box now no space. KFC, crunchy box run the place.
Crunch your craving with the new KFC Crunchy Box. A piece of delicious chicken, 2 hot wings, biscuit, and Pepsi for only $850. KFC, it's finger-licking good.
We can light up your world with the rays of the sun, putting pure energy in the palm of your hand.
For over 20 years, Foswitch has been putting a world of energy in your hands. Now we bring you big savings with our line of solar energy products and LED lighting. Financing now available for all your home and commercial retrofit projects. Consult with our in-house staff or certified professional engineers for all your electrical needs. Foswitch Lifestyle. It's electric. Foswitch, your energy world.
Public Opinion is brought to you by Cleasing Industrial Supplies Limited, Industrial Automation and Control Solutions.
Good evening, and welcome to Public Opinion. I'm Roby Ann Williams. A special good evening to our YouTubers. Thank you so much for joining us. We welcome you to weigh in live in the comment section on today's Public Opinion. And today is Friday, so you know we're doing it frivolously. We're not giving you any hard-hitting news questions today. You know, we're taking it down a notch. It's a Friday, the end of the week. So, in our newsroom, we were having the discussion about parishes, the different parishes, and which parish more polite than the other. Yeah? So, this is where this question is coming from. For Public Opinion this evening, we're asking which parish has the most polite people. I'll say that again. Which parish has the most polite people? And I'll start on our Facebook platform. Over 72 comments here. I feel like, you know, they're feeling this question over on Facebook. Very favored is saying Manchester. Imran saying, definitely my beloved parish of Portland with the lowest crime rate as well. Rosalind Buck says, every parish people will be people. Okay. Robert Ranger is saying, Portland, the most peaceful parish. Michelle Bernard, St. Elizabeth, of course, Breadbasket Parish. People belly always full, so them full up on manners. Licia Hansen is saying Manchester. Easton Clark, St. Anne. Kevin Brown is saying the winner is St. Mary. This is also a raging debate on Twitter. On X, I should say. I keep on saying Twitter. We should call it what it is now. X. It's a raging debate on X where people asking, you know, which parish has the most polite people. And we decided to hear what you, our viewers, have to say about this one. Continuing on Facebook, Fabian Off-White said Portland has the most polite people. I'm seeing Portland again from Mary Joseph saying that Portland calm and peaceful. Michael Plummer said Manchester. Junior again saying Manchester. Seeing St. Elizabeth, St. Anne, Portland. All right. We're seeing Portland a lot. St. Anne. St. Thomas, very polite. I'll know me no see Kingston still, you know. Me just a wonder where I go on. Me just a wonder where I keep. Merrick Forrest is St. Elizabeth and Portland. Joseph Hewitt saying Manchester. Manchester has the most polite people. And Vasily saying any random country parish, the town side them, no brought up see. Oh boy. O'Brien Johnson says St. Elizabeth and Portland. I'm seeing St. Mary. I'm seeing Portland, St. Anne, St. Elizabeth. All right. So the top contenders so far, St. Elizabeth, Portland, Manchester, and St. Anne. Right? Those are the four top contenders. Which parish has the most polite people? That's what I'm seeing. Daniel McFarlane saying St. Andrew would get it just because of population, but per capita it would be Portland. I think some people would disagree. Carrie Ann Jackson says Jamaicans are no longer polite. Wow. Is there any truth to that? Wow. Okay. I'm seeing Manchester. Kingston. Finally. Patricia Sutherland on Facebook is saying Kingston has the most polite people. I wonder how my YouTubers feel about that. Yeah? Because them always say Kingston people, you pass them and tell them morning and they no answer back. So I'm wondering what's happening there. On our Instagram platform, let me go on over to our Instagram platform. All right, the only Tana Thomas is saying that her parish, St. Elizabeth, for sure. Tana, you can't be in the comment section. That no fear. We not play. All right. Hyatt is saying definitely St. Mary. Derek on Instagram is saying if nobody ever put Westmoreland in the comments, we ban them from social media for a year. What's happening with Westmoreland? Sharika says, I'm from Manchester and I must say St. Elizabeth. I'm seeing St. Andrew, Manchester and Trelawney here from The Unchangeable. St. Thomas, St. Elizabeth, St. Mary. Wow. Okay. Christine is saying Kingston and then she have some ... and saying that it's not an honest answer. So Kingston, but it's not an honest answer. All right, St. Elizabeth people, where are you at? Coming from Summers, St. Elizabeth. Barrington says Pedro Keys. Pedro Keys in a St. Elizabeth, yeah? Sisu is saying, I'm born in Kingston and I've lived all over this country. And for me, it's definitely St. Bess. I was on TikTok live just now and St. Elizabeth took the lead on TikTok. Over on TikTok, St. Elizabeth took the lead. Let me go to our YouTubers here. Jenny says, Tana, you really a look out for Kingston? No man, Tana didn't say Kingston. Tana said St. Elizabeth, her parish. Let me see. Jenny was saying, remember you say when you come town, the people them frighten you cause the manners not even under them foot bottom. Oh boy, Edney Powell said Kingston people don't tell Audi. Kingston I came and lost all manners because when you tell Audi, you get no answer. And I've heard that several times before. Claudette Hamilton says St. James, most of our leaders are from there. Let me scroll up. I'm seeing St. Anne. Greetings to you, Jason Jones. TikTok views, big up yourself. Betsy Powell said Trelawney. S. Marshall is saying Portland. I'm seeing St. Elizabeth and Manchester here. Jacqueline Thomas, I cannot say what you're saying about Kingstonians. You want the Kingstonians to come at me? Carol says West is the best. Top is saying St. Elizabeth and GAL Chester. Yeah? Them say St. Elizabeth and GAL Chester tell a cow Audi. Lyra Rotti says, I will carry Trelawney on my back. Trelawney peeps won't a day. All right, Leroy, I see you with your Trelawney fan. Your Trelawney people. Donovan Sibley says, Clarendon must say. Okay. Concerned Citizen says, Kingston people have no manners. Travis 360, I'm from Westmoreland, but I think it's St. Elizabeth. Those people still say good morning, afternoon, evening, call to you whether you're a stranger or not, and always giving you ground provisions. Yep, I can attest to that one. If you go to St. Elizabeth, make sure you and you stop at one yard, make sure you know say you come back with something. Yeah, come back with something in your hand or in your vehicle. Baby Toy says, I live in Kingston, but it can't take the St. Elizabeth out of my manners. Out of me. Manners still it book. All right. Donna Llewellyn says, I'm from St. Anne, living in Manchester, but I give it to St. Elizabeth. And that's fair. That's fair. You should be fair. Prince Charles says, Kingston is the best. Country people chat bad. Well, and that we are really contest about, we are contest about the manners. I mean, know some people, they will pass you, they will pass you, go pass you, come, and them still a tell you morning, although them tell you morning already when them a go. Yeah? What you think, Bugs? The most polite parish? The parish with the most polite people? Claudian Atkins says, Kingston people don't good. Wow, Claudian Atkins. Man, the Kingstonians come for you, Baby Toy says, may I represent all St. Elizabeth. Make me walk out pan them. Okay, Clarendon people, mannerable. Grace Ben says, Clarendon people, mannerable. They have manners. Cindy Lynch says, which Kingston? Kingston, no have no manners. St. Anne have the most polite people, and Brick Road believes that everyone will root for their parish. So it's very subjective. Well, Philip Jackson, what you say? What you say, Philip Jackson? Which parish? Which parish has the most polite people? By far, I can say that St. Elizabeth is the top contender. St. Elizabeth is the top contender with a parish that has the most polite people, hands down. Because St. Elizabeth got the most votes over on Facebook, got the most votes over on Instagram, and, well, on our YouTube platform, it seems as though St. Elizabeth people take it. They do have the most polite people, as according to our public opinion this evening. Thank you guys so much for participating. I do hope you have a wonderful weekend, but do stay tuned for the business report up next.
Public Opinion was brought to you by Cleasing Industrial Supplies Limited, industrial automation and control solutions.
Drive the most exciting new vehicles in Jamaica. Schedule your 2024 Ford Ranger pickup or Ford Everest 7-seater SUV test drive now. Call or visit KIG today.
The time by KIG is
6:34. Hello, good evening, and welcome to Nationwide's Business Report. I'm Robianne Williams. A company connected to Michael Lee Chin, the chairman of NCB Financial Group, sold 6.4 million of the company's shares on September 5 on the Jamaica Stock Exchange. That's according to a report published late on Thursday by Guardian Media in Trinidad and Tobago. The block of NCBFG shares was sold at 51 Jamaican dollars per share, raising 326 million Jamaican dollars. That was equivalent to just over $2 million US dollars. Now, a week ago, Lee Chin made a $2 million US dollar payment to note holders of Portland Barbados Limited in a revised payment arrangement. He is reportedly due to make another $2 million US dollar payment today and a final payment in the same amount by next Friday. Lee Chin's current payment arrangement was put in place after he missed an April 30 deadline on a 2-year note valued at $23 million US dollars. Further afield, Boeing workers have gone on strike after they overwhelmingly rejected a tentative deal between union representatives and the plane maker that included a 25% pay rise. More than 30,000 workers in Seattle and Portland downed their tools from midnight Pacific time on Friday. The walkout is another setback for the firm, which is facing deepening financial losses. It is also struggling to repair its reputation after a series of safety issues, including 2 fatal crashes. And finally, in the currency markets at the close of trading today, it cost 158 Jamaican dollars and 56 cents to buy 1 US dollar, 207 Jamaican dollars and 71 cents to buy 1 British pound, and 117 Jamaican dollars and 7 cents to buy the Canadian dollar. That's the business report. I'm Robianne Williams. Good evening.
Hey, did you know that the Jamaica Stock Exchange has a loyalty program?
No, what that?
Well, as a JSE Loyalty Club member, you are now able to earn rewards when you shop at any of the participating merchants island-wide.
But I don't own any stocks and I'm not a member.
No problem, man. Join the program by downloading the JSE Loyalty app, activate your account, and start racking up points with every purchase. Redeem points for goods and services at any participating merchant or choose to convert them into stocks.
So what if I already have stocks?
That's even better. It means that you are pre-enrolled on the program. You only need to download the app and activate. Start your portfolio, grow your portfolio, join our loyalty program, and earn, save, or invest. The Jamaica Stock Exchange, where loyalty builds financial performance.
Energize your life the right way with DBJ. Yeah, you must can save enough energy solution. Choose one today for your house or your business. Money I go save. Yeah, DBJ. energize your life the right way.
The Development Bank of Jamaica Limited is here to help you with the purchase and installation of renewable energy systems to help you save on your energy bill. Contact your business banker or bank today. Energize your business or home the right way with DBJ Energy Loan.
Yes, Kemlani Mart is making deals.
Really? Deals like what?
On scratch, dented, new furniture and appliances.
Oh, that's great.
And that's not all. Kemlani Mart has tiles, toilets, doors at crazy low prices.
So I can make a deal on a sofa set?
Of course, and dining room sets, outdoor furniture, ACs and more. No reasonable offer will be refused.
Only at Kemlani Mart, Manor Center and 77 King Street.
I love this place, you see.
You can have it all. Company events, birthday parties, or the wedding of your dreams. It's all possible at Grand Palladium Hotels and Resorts. We have magnificent event rooms and a dedicated team that will make your event the best experience that only Grand Palladium Hotels and Resorts can offer. Contact us at 876-619-0000 or call your favorite travel agency and ask about our promotion designed especially for you.
If it's in the public's interest, it's the nation's business during Nationwide at 5. The nation's business.
None of mercy. This one is very classic, dedicated to all schoolers who are taking beats.
If you've ever struggled to pass an exam, then you'll know that students today are under great pressure to get good grades and secure qualification needed to move on to higher education. The problem is that too many students are struggling alone and could really benefit from connecting with hardworking teachers and other bright students in other parts of the country and the region. Join me, Dennis Brooks, this and every Friday evening from 8 to 9, with a repeat on Saturday morning from 8 to 9. For the A-Team, a study group on radio. My team of teachers, students, and experts will break down the syllabus, giving you information, tips, and past paper questions that will help you get top grades in your upcoming exams. Follow us on Facebook Live and on Twitter and be a part of the community. It's the A-Team, Fridays at 8 p.m. with a repeat at 8 o'clock on Saturday morning. It's your free extra class on radio and social media. And it's right here on Nationwide 90 FM, the revolution in media.
Nation's Business is brought to you by BH Paints. Paint it, love it with BH Paints.
Good evening. Thank you so much for staying with us here on Nationwide at 5. It's time for the nation's business. I'm Ricardo Brooks.
My name is Sanjay Lewis. After years of negotiation, the government has completed the public sector compensation restructuring exercise with one of the largest grouping of trade unions in the country. Finance Minister Dr. Nigel Clark inked the final deal with the Jamaica Confederation of Trade Unions, the JCTU, on Thursday. Siobhan Campbell tells us more.
The government had announced its intention to restructure public sector compensation well over 5 years ago. The aim was to normalize and streamline salaries across the public sector, simplifying many of the disparate allowances and benefits. Work got underway in 2022 after the country emerged from the COVID-19 pandemic, with a general agreement inked the year after. Finance Minister Dr. Nigel Clark says the government and the JCTU, which represents 11 trade union groups, have now come to terms on several outstanding matters.
The Ministry of Finance and the Public Service and the Jamaica Confederation of Trade Unions concluded the agreement and items carried over from the implementation of the new compensation structure for the public service with a signing of a heads of agreement on September 12, 2024. This marks a significant milestone in the journey embarked upon approximately 7 years ago when unions and the government agreed to the restructuring of the compensation system for the public sector. The mutual achievement on behalf of diligent and hard-working public sector workers who continue to contribute to the advancement of Jamaica is highly significant.
The Finance Minister says the just-signed agreement restructures conditions of service including overtime and other non-salary issues.
This agreement complements the compensation restructuring agreement, which was signed 2 years ago and which was implemented over the 3-year period inclusive of fiscal years 2022-23 to fiscal year 2024-25. And this agreement, signed yesterday, restructures conditions of service, including compensation for extra hours worked, among other conditions of service.
Dr. Clark says the process of restructuring is evidence of the country's ability to put itself on the right track.
Though these negotiations have required many, many rounds of discussions, which have taken many, many months, and have been challenging and difficult at times, they've always been conducted professionally and respectfully. It took tremendous determination on the part of both parties and a solution-oriented atmosphere where concerns of both parties could be aired and addressed. This entire process has again shown our capacity as Jamaicans to continually improve our country through social dialogue, a capacity that is institutionalized in our structures and systems and that will serve Jamaica for decades to come.
Siobhan Campbell for Nationwide News.
Meanwhile, President of the JCTU, St. Patrice Ennis, says despite the protracted delays in finalizing an agreement with the government, the umbrella group is pleased with the outcome. He concedes that while not all items on the agenda were fully realized, the best possible outcome was secured for all partners involved. Of course, listeners, you'd recall that the JCTU represents 11 trade unions, including the Bustamante Industrial Trade Union, the National Workers Union, and the Jamaica Civil Service Association. Mr. Ennis joins us now. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Glad to be here with you.
Wonderful. So, Mr. Ennis, the public sector compensation restructuring exercise has been finally concluded after, 11 years? Your members, are they happy with the outcome?
Well, on a whole, I would say most people would be quite pleased that we have finally come to an end, and I would say they are indeed satisfied. As you will recall, that some of our members, at least one recently, had issued a strike notice to influence the hurrying or the expeditiousness of the negotiating exercise, as they believe that we were taking too long as the union leadership was under pressure from its membership. And so, and not because you didn't hear from others in the form of a ultimatum or a strike notice, but many other union leaders were under pressure to conclude these rounds of negotiation. So I feel certain in saying that most people would be quite satisfied that we have completed it. The items that we were negotiating were not unfamiliar to them because, as indicated in your release just now, this has been going on for a number of years. In particular, the last 2 years, these final items or outstanding items are being talked about, and they have been bandied about in the public domain. And they would have, our membership that is, would have been participatory with respect to the drafting, the verbiage that would have been included in this last agreement that we signed yesterday. So I believe overall, yes, they would have been satisfied and they would have been quite elated at it coming to an end just now.
And what are some of these outstanding matters that you have agreed on with this agreement that you signed yesterday?
Well, the major item would have been the increment. That was one of the items. It was the most costly one because each increment would represent a 2.5% increase to the public sector wage bill. If you do simple math, the public sector wage bill is over 400 billion. 2.5%, would give you somewhere almost $10 billion. And we are talking about 3 such increments for the years 22-23 fiscal year, that is 23-24, 24-25. The government has agreed to restore that increment, which it had suspended. It being of the view, the government that is being of the view that that was already absorbed into the public sector workers' wages, we took a different view, and so we argued long and hard over that, and we reached a compromise situation where we have now agreed that the increment will be restored at the end of this fiscal year. But not only that, everybody within the public sector would be eligible for it now, whether you meet the criteria with respect to qualification or even performance, because they had, in our view, unilaterally suspended it. And so there was no real evaluation going on, and persons weren't really documenting what they were doing. So as a compromise, everybody will be eligible for such a payment. And so that is a major achievement on our part, we believe. And as the Minister indicated in your preamble, or your just now, is that certain conditions of service has also been finalized with respect to a uniform policy, with respect to overtime, subsistence allowance, mileage, and passenger mileage has again been restored, which was also taken out of the entire public sector. So these are some of the items that we have managed to agree upon that we believe will be quite substantial in terms of persons' conditions of service. And also, for some categories of workers, they have even realized more than 100% increase in their tailoring allowance as a result of the signing of this agreement just last night. So I believe overall, this is a good thing for many. If you reach an agreement over such a period, there would indeed be compromise. And some items are more important than others to some group of people. So there'll be varying views on how this relates to them. But we believe all in all, this has been a worthy exercise and would be beneficial to the public sector workers on a whole.
So you have received back the passenger mileage, as you indicated. The VEX issue as it relates to overtime has now been resolved. The matter of increment, it seems to me like it's a major win for the union.
Well, the union is not a vacuous entity. The union is made up of workers. And
the members. When I say the union, I'm speaking broadly, the members.
And this is and the public sector workers is over 10% of the Jamaican workforce, and so that is a large body, and nothing moves in Jamaica unless the public sector moves. So it is indeed a win for Jamaica on a whole, if it is indeed a win for the workers, because I believe the minister and his team were quite diligent in terms of their attention to the matter. He was there from the beginning, the start of this exercise, and we thought it was important that he kept his hand on the steering wheel, so to speak, and see it through, which he had promised to do, and we are very happy that we were able to accomplish that task.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
What does it also mean for retroactive payment? Because the wheel of government would still be moving. Individuals would still be working, even though the agreement was not reached. So for those years, or the last 2 years, when they would have received that increase, is it that those who would have worked overtime can now get that retroactive money? Those who would have done the passenger mileage, they can now claim back for those last 2 years?
Well, the passenger mileage, no, the effective date is August 1. It's restoration. With respect to, you have asked about, what's the other item you asked about?
The overtime.
Overtime. Now, what was happening with respect to the overtime is that we were using the old salary, the pre-April 2022 salary, for the in calculating overtime. And so with this signed agreement, what will now happen is that you now use your current salary, and we had different payment arrangements with respect to overtime. In the health sector, for some categories of workers, you call it sessions. For other categories of workers, you call it duty allowance. For other workers, it is a common one, which is time and a half, double, and so on. And so we now have one system of overtime, where it's after a 40-hour work week, excess hours is paid, which is a Monday to Friday, time and a half first rest day time and a half, second rest day double. And so that is now the system that we have, and that will obtain for every single public sector worker between grades 1 to 10 on the scale. So we have altered the overall overtime arrangement coming through a new policy. But your question as to whether they will receive retroactivity with respect to this policy, the answer is no. It will be, well, not much, effective August 1.
Mm-hmm. This has been a long process, Mr. Ennis, difficult negotiations. Take us into the process. How difficult, let me put it that way, how difficult was it to reach this position?
It has been very difficult in the sense that, one, we still have outstanding issues, such as anomalies that we still need to resolve, where persons who are supervising from their subordinates are being paid about the same as they are, the supervisors are being paid. Those are some of the issues that we need to resolve. We also need to resolve the issue that some persons, would believe also that in terms of a compensation philosophy that would cause some categories that are above them to recognize, this percentile increase, and some only getting 20%. And so we have those concerns still languishing. And also the fact that we are also to embark on a new negotiation come April 2025 made this one, the pressure to conclude this one, difficult for us, because we are now required to submit new claims. And so, as you would have noticed, even during this negotiation, it was difficult to hold the entire group, the JCTU, together, because union leaders were under pressure to go out and to demand a conclusion and demand and pay attention to this particular item. And part of the challenge as president of the Confederation is to hold the entire team, including the JTA. That membership alone is about 30,000. The JCSA is about 30,000. So when we are talking about the JCTU, I noticed you said that it is one of the larger union grouping in the country. I would suggest to you that it is the largest union grouping in the country. It's the only national union grouping in the country. And so we are talking about, in the public sector, who we represent, of about over 100,000 workers. So it was very difficult to keep that and hold that together through this entire process and to arrive at the stage that we are now at.
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned that there are some issues still yet to be resolved. And I remember that vexed issue about some supervisors, the subordinates are making more than they are. How advanced are you with those issues to get them resolved?
Well, some have been resolved, and there are still some outstanding. Because what that would require is looking at that particular entity. These are not just generally with when we say public sector. Here, the agreement that we signed yesterday dealt specifically with central government employees. That means it did not deal with the public bodies, such as, let's say, an airport authority, let's say a port authority. Those persons were not necessarily part of this restructuring. They have their own restructuring, and that is still ongoing in terms of the public sector. I mean, I was at the airport authority today dealing with their own public sector exercise, which has not yet been concluded. So we are talking about the central government employees, largely the civil servants. That is what we have concluded. So to just make your listeners understand, there are some public sector bodies, agencies, mainly those revenue earning entities that still have this exercise ongoing. And so if you hear those in the public domain as any issue, I just want your listeners to know that that aspect of it is still ongoing. But largely for the central government, this has been concluded. But yes, there are lingering concerns with respect to the supervisor getting less than the supervisee or about the same salary, and the transformation unit at the Ministry of Finance that deals specifically with these challenges. My understanding is that many are being resolved, and also the issue of contract work, as you know, is always a problem in the public sector. The transformation or conversion of persons who are contract workers into regular status of employment. We have done over 10,000 of those, and that is an ongoing process as they come in. So there's still a lot of work to be done and ongoing work to be done. So having signed an agreement, that does not necessarily mean that all is well in the public sector. We are committed to work to resolve the other issues through policies and through other agreements in the future.
Yeah. All right, St. Patrice Ennis, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it.
Not a problem.
St. Patrice Ennis here, the president of the Jamaica Confederation of Trade Unions. A significant milestone, Sanjay, but as Mr. Ennis says, still some ways to go. Yeah?
Yeah, and I'm stunned that he indicated, I didn't even realize that they're entering now in another negotiation period, and this one was so long,
right?
That
it essentially leads into another one.
Yeah, you're ending one and about to begin another. But it's a major win, though, Ricardo, because and I know you have been following this protracted negotiation between the government and the unions, and many of the issues that they had, the vexed issue of the mileage being removed and the passenger mileage, as he indicated, and I know the matter of the overtime pay was a big issue. So for them to come to this conclusion and an agreement signed, it is a major win for the government.
Yeah. And as we look forward, come Sunday, the People's National Party will be gathering at the National Arena for their conference. This is the 86th, I'm right? 86th annual conference, yeah? And possibly, quite possibly, the very last time they will gather in conference before a general election. I am very keen to see how Mark Golding and all the speakers who will take the stage come Sunday, what is that pitch? Because this is possibly one of the largest audiences they will have. You know, these speeches are usually carried live on TV, you know, on radio, and of course you have a large audience across social media.
Yeah.
And so I'm very interested to see what the pitch is. I know for quite some time now, commentators, pundits, the talking heads, we've been saying that, look, it's time now for the People's National Party to start spelling out with some specificity what exactly are those concrete policy prescriptions, how will they differ in governance from the Jamaica Labour Party. I'm hoping to hear some of that because I'll tell you why. It can't continue to be a message of opposition to. It has to start now to evolve into a message of vote for something. I think so far it has done a good job of telling the Jamaican people what they should vote against. But I think it's important now to start to pivot to what exactly they should vote for.
They're going to have a difficult time trying to sell a certain message to especially the delegates who will be present. Because let's not forget that the main reason for a party conference, while policy, should be discussed, because all attention will be on you, the charge to their delegates is important to go back to the field to ensure that they are energized. And it will be interesting also, Ricardo, to see how they're going to continue to have that discussion about this illicit aid or the Prime Minister's statutory declaration not being certified, given the new information that would have been made public by Nationwide and the Jamaica Observer. As we know, for the last year and a half, 2 years, it was one of the biggest selling points, so to speak, of the People's National Party. So I will also want to see how is it that they're going to continue on that same trajectory to speak about the Prime Minister's statutory declaration, the illicit aid, or is it that they're going to shift that constant rhetoric to speak about something else. And then I ask myself, but if not that, then what? Because you're going to need something to rile up your base.
Yeah, and I think it insofar as what we have reported, what the observer has reported, has taken some wind out of their sails. We will see. We shouldn't underestimate a determined effort from the likes of the PNP's General Secretary, Dr. Dayton Campbell, and the rest of the speakers to continue to hammer this issue, certainly in their estimation, at least until the matter is tabled in the Parliament on Tuesday. But again, that speaks to the politics of grievance and the politics of vote against this, yeah? And that has been the message. And I'm wondering, at what point do you start to pivot? Is it enough to simply say, vote against? Is that going to carry the day?
But, Ricardo, to be fair to Mark Golding, in the last conference that they had, he made some attempts to outline.
We saw outlines. We saw sketches.
A policy that they put, yes.
I don't disagree with that. Absolutely. I think I said that some time ago. In fact, last year, when I was in the other place and we had a segment called What's on My Mind. I spoke about that. And I agree. So there are sketches. And I think in his budget debate as well, there were sketches.
Yes.
How much more specific does it need to be now? When you say, for example...
I'm going to flip that to you, but go ahead.
When you say, for example, time come, what has the time come for? What has it come for? I want to hear that. And I think people who can still be persuaded in the electorate, I think they deserve to hear that. I think so. Because we know the Jamaica Labour Party is very likely going to tell you, here are the things in a very concrete way that we have achieved. We're asking you to vote again for this or for the continuation of this. The People's National Party has to say, one, it is not enough, as they have been doing, and then say, this is how we will differ. They just have to.
Is it though? And remember, I think it was 2 weeks ago when we were talking about Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. One of the things that you indicated and you asked, is it that the electorate, they have that appetite where they want to hear the specifics? And I'm going to put that very question to you again.
No.
Is it that the Jamaican people, they are really interested in the specifics? And
all right.
Even when the political parties put forward a manifesto, Ricardo, outside of the media and a few others who are those in academia who are interested in the specifics, the general public, are they interested?
Okay, here's my answer to that. What are the general points? Because even if I take you at that face value and I say, okay, fine, maybe we're not interested in the minutia and the very, very specific policy questions. But what are the general points?
But he gave that at the last conference.
Such as?
He spoke to the matter of land and land acquisition, although that is a constant rhetoric of the PNP.
And that, my brother, is why I am saying we're going to need more. Because I'm not disagreeing with you, that there are sketches of something there. But these are sketches that we've heard before. These are sketches that have been there for a long time. Is that the pull? Is that the pitch? Is that the thing that the Jamaican people are to rally around? Mind you, I think the Jamaica Labour Party will also have to have some kind of pull, some kind of anchor, some kind of thing for the Jamaican people to rally around, in addition to what they've already achieved.
But Ricardo.
Yeah.
Let us be mindful now. And let me ask you this: given the fiscal space that we operate in,
how far can one go? Well, here's my response to that question. Then why should we change the government?
And it's for that reason why they're hammering the point about corruption, about the Prime Minister's statutory declaration, and the fact that Mark Golding is coming with clean hands, because I think they recognize and let us be fair.
Okay,
The management. Wait, let me finish the point.
Okay.
The management of the economy, and let us be, if we want to be very fair, and it's not about a PNP or a
yeah.
has been excellent.
Okay,
And
so you're saying
no
that.
one can
So you're
deny
saying that they don't see much daylight that they can create on policy.
There's not much. There's not much.
Okay,
So
all right.
And that is why they have to beat that rhetoric. We are coming with clean hands. What are they going to talk about? We can manage the economy better? To be fair, the economy is being managed very well.
Right.
So I think that they're in a spot of bother.
In terms of policy prescription and how you manage. Okay.
Yes.
All right. I can accept that. And therefore the pivot has to be on the politics of grievance and why these people are the incumbent government is unsuitable.
Mm-hmm.
I see.
That's the only thing I think that they can really hammer home. And which is why, Ricardo, I also question, why is it that the government did not reconvene Parliament to table that Integrity Commission report? And I asked it yesterday. Because that would also put to rest that major talking point. Because remember, when you interviewed Dr. Campbell, I think it was on Tuesday.
Yes.
And you asked about his comments on the report, and he's saying he finds it strange that the Integrity Commission would waste 2 years to investigate $384,000.
Yeah.
It's absurd, he said. So why is it then that the government would not reconvene Parliament this week to kill that point that the PNP is going to obviously bring on the political platform on Sunday? That is questionable for me.
I'll be looking out for mobilization. I'll be looking out for, I know obviously crowd size is not an indication of anything, but certainly conference will give you an opportunity to see the state of the machinery, to see if the People's National Party can bring out the comrades. Because this one is going to be important. This one is going to be important. So I'll be looking forward to that. I'll be looking forward to hearing the messages from the platform. Is it a consistent message? And I wondered, do you think time can follow through to the general election? Or you think it was sort of, overused in the local? You think as a slogan it can follow through for a general?
I'm no question if they can maintain that slogan going into next year. Given what we would have learned just a couple of days ago. Because remember, the argument was time come for better management, time come for a man with clean hands. But given what we would have heard, I'm not so sure that they can continue with that rhetoric moving into next year.
Marcia Jones says governance issues is a problem. What are some of those issues, Marcia? Let's talk about them. What are some of those governance issues that you see? Marcia Favor More Than a Conqueror says time come and done. Wendell Bonnick says comrades have some things to discuss. They can discuss high crime rates, bad roads, poor hospitals, conditions, corruption, low productivity, low salary, high cost of living, and poor education system. But you see, those are because those are policy things, But you see, Wendell,
and they would have to now come with what is it that we're going to do differently.
Right. You see, Wendell Bonnick, if those things are the things that are discussed, and I agree with you, those things are fair game, then you have to give your alternative. What would your alternative to that? And then my question is, when did Jamaica start having high crime rates, bad roads, poor hospitals, low productivity, salary issues, poor education system? This didn't start in the last 8 years, or in the last 10, or the last 20 years. So and as I said, I go back to, what is that new, different thing that people are going to be asked to rally around? Because these are not new problems. Yeah? They're not. Iona Davis says the hospitals have been bad for years. Yeah. Full Disclose says time come for a man that doesn't have to pray to see if he needs to be a Jamaican citizen. Not following it there. Full disclosure. But we want to hear your thoughts. PNP conference coming up. What are you expecting to hear? Any particular speakers you're looking forward to hearing from? I want to hear from Mark Golding. I definitely do. and I'll be listening with an open mind to what he has to say, because this is a big one. And if the Dun Anderson polls are to be believed, we're waiting to get the results of the Blue Dot polls. Mr. Golding now seems to have eclipsed Andrew Holness in favorability for the first time, if the last set of polling data we saw is to be believed. So it's a very, very, very important conference.
And as you indicated, Ricardo, the messaging is going to be very important.
Yeah.
And there must be consistency among all those who decide to present at that conference. Mark Golding also has to come across prime ministerial.
And again, it's why I asked the question about time come, because I remember at the last conference, they carried a very consistent message on that time come.
Mm-hmm.
Will it still be as potent? Is it still going to be as potent leading up into the next year and for what is to come? I've been thinking about that.
Mm-hmm.
All right, come chat with us now. 630-9371-4 618-8255. Those are the numbers to call. Dana Davey is standing by to take your calls with a smile. She has a smile on her face. 13 minutes after 7. Soon come.
Nation's Business was brought to you by BH Paints. Paint it, love it with BH Paints.
On Sunday, August 11th, in the quiet community of Cherry Tree Lane in Clarendon, our entire nation was shaken by a brutal act of violence.
Gangsters mercilessly took the lives of 8 innocent Jamaicans, including a 7-year-old boy.
These criminals will strike again, destroying more families and more communities, unless we stand together to stop them.
If you have any information that can help bring these killers to justice, please share it with the security forces.
The government has established a reward fund of $25 million for information leading to the arrest and charge of
the perpetrators who committed this heinous act,
the facilitators who supplied them with arms, intelligence, and transportation,
and those who harbor and protect these criminals after the crime.
If you know something, please say something. Call Crime Stop at 311, Mocha at 888-6622-847, NIB at 811, or JDF at 837-8888.
Together, we will defeat the gangs
and develop a culture of peace in our country.
The proceeding was brought to you by the Ministry of National Security.
Here's to the early risers, and we are here all-nighters. The go the extra milers, and let's do it until it works. Workers, people who are powerful because they power through day after day, challenge after challenge. You see, true power, it's not something you can buy or collect. It is something that starts on the inside, and you always know it when you see it. Sunshine Snack Peanuts, proud supporters of the powerful.
Let's talk about inflation. At May 2024, the annual inflation rate, the general rate of price increase over 12 months, was 5.2%. This is good news, as it shows that inflation is being controlled and the rate of price increases is slowing. May was the 4th consecutive month of lower headline inflation, and the 3rd straight month, inflation was controlled within the target range of between 4 to 6%. A message from Bank of Jamaica.
We can light up your world with the rays of the sun, putting pure energy in the palm of your hand.
For over 20 years, Fosrich has been putting a world of energy in your hands. Now we bring you big savings with our line of solar energy products and LED lighting. Financing now available for all your home and commercial retrofit projects. Consult with our in-house staff or certified professional engineers for all your electrical needs. Fosrich Lifestyle. It's electric. Fosrich, your energy world.
Make a deal. Yes, Kimlani Mart is making deals.
Really? Deals like what?
On scratch, dented, new furniture and appliances.
Oh, that's great.
And that's not all. Kimlani Mart has tiles, toilets, doors at crazy low prices.
So I can make a deal on a sofa set?
Of course, and dining room sets, outdoor furniture, ACs and more. No reasonable offer will be refused.
Only at Kimlani Mart, Manor Center and 77 King Street.
I love this place, you see.
17 minutes after 7, you're tuned in to Nationwide at 5. We're taking your calls now. The numbers 630-9371-4, 618-8255. I'm Ricardo Brooks. He's Sanjay Lewis. Cleveland is on the line. Good evening, Cleveland.
Good evening to you both.
Good evening, Cleveland.
Yes, man. I sort of like the discussion you're talking about with it. What the PMP will present to us here.
Yes.
But
Yes.
anyhow, I think the country needs to thank the GLP government and Mr. Clark for restructuring the payment system here in Jamaica. That the workers them can feel as if they're more than a civil servant and can join with the private sector. Trust me, I come out of leave government work 2007. I go on retirement, and we go through a lot of payment thing.
Yes.
And it's just 1, 2 cent, 3 cent, 4 cent, 5 cent.
In terms of increase.
In terms of increase.
Yes.
And then now, after a while, we was under a long
Wage freeze.
Wage freeze.
Yes.
Trust me.
And the public sector workers, they deserve it, man, Cleveland. They have been through it. I have worked in the public service before. Yeah.
But it's much better for them now.
Yes.
You see? I remember the PMP was in them make a lot of attempt to do the restructuring, but it don't do. And it end up that we the little one them don't get anything as they mostly they are because they don't want some of our PF to come near to for them, to the bigger guys them, and therefore they don't come to a proper decision on what to pay you. You see? But if it's even that, the civil servants, they must thank the government, the JLP government, along with Mr. Clark, for making them feel like somebody, like them getting a better paycheck at the end of the month.
As I have said, Cleveland, what I appreciated about the decision was that the government and Dr. Clark had the courage to take it on, because it is a politically unpopular thing to do this kind of thing.
Yes.
And I suspect the fear of from past administrations was that you would do it, it would cause upheaval as it did, and you'd lose the election.
And don't forget, most of the union are attached to the PMP, you know. Most of the union where government have to sit down and talk with. PMP to the ground. I'm telling you. It wouldn't be so easy.
Yeah. So, I certainly applaud the courage.
But they keep you saying that, well, the PMP can talk about the hospital system, crime, and what have you. Let me tell you.
Which are regular talking points of any opposition.
But when they can't tell us about the hospital system.
Well, they certainly would have to tell us, Cleveland, what is it that they're going to do different.
Well, that is what they would have to do. That is what they would have to do. Because, trust me, for a lot of us who use the hospital, yes, it has its weakness, yes. But trust me, when you think of the amount of accidents and gun shooting and what have you, and people going there almost dead and come back out alive and moving up and down here, in all the hospitals in the island, in spite of the weakness they may have here and there, right? You go to the clinic, at least those who I visit, you get proper service. You go to the hospital down a public, you get proper service. Yes, you may have to wait some areas the long or what have you. Yeah, but you get look after and proper look after too.
You know one of the other problems, Cleveland, well, two issues I have with the sector. I think for a very long time, and Dr. Tufton also alluded to it, bad upkeep of some of those properties that exist.
Yes.
And just the general management and the funding that was necessary to keep it going.
Yes.
And then the other challenge I have with the health sector is that idea of this regional system that we adopted from the UK was a bad idea.
Bad idea.
It doesn't work because of how small we are. And when you think about it,
You mean the regional health authority?
The regional, man, it's a bad decision. a bad decision.
This was implemented under John Jr.
Was it John Jr. or
I think
Peter
it was.
Phillips?
I think it was John. Wasn't it John?
It was
Jr.?
between both. I think I need to double check. I think it's Peter Phillips, if my memory serves me correct, when he was health minister.
I was health minister.
Okay.
But the challenge with it is we are too small a country to have this regional system, because remember, every region is managing a cluster of hospitals. And if you want to transfer a nurse or a doctor from one region to another, the process that you have to go through, it's painstaking. If you want to deal with payments, right? The Ministry of Health has to wait on the regional bodies to send across requests to make payments. It's a very complicated system that makes the entire health system even more difficult to manage. And I think just as how we're looking at this process, and we have done it to restructure this idea of compensation, we need to get rid of this regional system and move back to a central system. It's not working at all.
One more thing before I go. Ricardo.
Yes, sir.
That evening you have some argument about, some of our caller, one caller especially will talk about the color of Mr. Golden and whatever you want.
Yes.
But you know something?
Yeah.
You people will never know what we go through supporting the JLP with Mr. Siago, you know.
Yeah.
You'll never ever know.
Yeah.
You know, no young people, if any young people support the JLP, they not even want to say it.
Yeah. So I remember growing up, my perception was definitely based on all that I had heard around me, was that labor rights were evil people. I can vividly remember forming that perception as a child. So I get it. I understand, and I think the hurt runs deep on both sides. No, I appreciate that, Cleveland.
Yeah, I'm glad that you
yeah, man. There's no question that I understand that, but my thing is, how do we move on? Because we have to move on at some point, Cleveland.
Well, it's up to said. Because up to 2016, when election will come, they used to point finger over upon the jail people to say how much brown people and Mr. That man in St. Mary. The name just slipped me now. The chairman of the party. The same as the black side of the party.
Yes.
Oh, Bobby Montague.
Yes.
Yes. Yes, I remember that comment.
You know, so it's not easy, you know. But me, I tell you the God truth. I don't see Mr. Golden as my prime minister in this country.
Why?
No, not at all.
Why?
I'm in a racial.
So it's not a racial issue for you?
No, I am not.
And that's good. That's good. Once it's not a racial issue.
Jamaican tribe. I don't expect that the people would end up with somebody like Mr. Golden as their leader.
Oh, well, okay.
Based on what they used to preach and go on.
Okay.
You know?
And that is why
if he come down in the crowd,
he look like everybody else, right? But you see, that is why if you live long enough, you'll see everything. But that's just how it is. And a lot of people also say that they wouldn't have expected somebody from corporate Jamaica, a tried and true capitalist, to be head of the People's National Party. Yes.
Especially for what they stand for in the 80s, and 70s.
I suppose that's just how history works, Cleveland?
We have evolved, Ricardo, put it that way.
Yeah.
Anyhow, for the weekend, it's been very interesting to hear what they're coming with.
So we'll...
And if it's even so, but the jail would be a fool to release whatever come before the election, before their conference. I couldn't do that.
I don't know if I agree with you on that, Cleveland. But
I don't agree with you on that, Cleveland.
No. What you think? The JLP don't know politics too?
No.
That matter is not a matter of politics. That matter is a matter of national importance.
Yes. And it's for them to sing and dance. They won't have much to say now.
Yes. All right, Cleveland.
All right.
Just before we go to Richie, I just want to say, I just don't like the racial politics. That's it. Yeah. I want us to move on from it as a country, because I don't think it's helpful. I don't think it's helpful. And I don't think you should judge anybody seeking political office or vying for an office solely based on the color of their skin.
Feels like we're going back to
where they're
the
from.
80s, the 70s.
It has to be the content of their character and the soundness of what they have put forward and their competence as you see it. Yeah, so that's just it, guys. I'm not at all belittling or disregarding the hurt that a lot of people have felt from what has happened in the 70s and the 80s. As I said, I would support truth and reconciliation because I know that these things run deep for a particular generation in this country. I get it. I understand it. I've heard the horror stories. Yeah. I one of the things I love most about my grandmother is that she, once I ask and she can remember, she will give me the political history as she remembers it, and I find that she doesn't color it. She tells you what she saw on both sides. Yeah, and so I get it, but we have to move on at some point.
I really don't think we should go back there at all. The horror stories that we've read about and we've seen, how they dealt with, for example, Edward Seaga, and not because, as you said, Ricardo, that one side did it, it's now payback. Yeah. No
Richie.
time for that at all.
Yes, sir. Good evening to me, G.
What's up, one?
Good evening, Richie.
Yes, sir. I'm going to say good evening to the real general this time, the Prime Minister, Dr. Andrew.
Yes.
Yes, buddy. Good evening. It was frightening to me to know that the man did that. You know why?
Why?
To know that he's been working so hard as a Prime Minister and take time out to do that course.
Oh.
It was frightening to me.
Yes.
But on the other side, he was under this dark cloud with his stabilization, and he take time out to do that course. You know what happened? He was confident he know that he was free. And I will continue to live him up for that.
All right.
But anyway, we keep talking about Paul, Donaldson Paul.
Yes.
You see the first one before this? It was flawed. And the one we did before this last one.
Okay.
It was flawed, and I'm going to tell you why.
Yeah.
I listened to his interviewing. And the people asked him if he did polling in Tivoli and Young, and he says, and the people asked him what his sample size, and he doesn't answer. How can you be a poll and you can't tell his sample size? It was flawed. And I'm going to tell you this.
Hold on. We mean we don't know this. We usually know the sample size, 1,000 plus people usually.
No. Cliff asked him if he did polling in Tivoli.
Oh, if you sampled anybody from Tivoli?
Yes.
Okay.
He did. And he said yes. And he asked him what is sample size. And he couldn't talk. If you did poll, you must know the sample size. So I said to him, it was flawed. And I said to Cliff, and him, because I never like him, but we said it was flawed.
Oh, yeah, but I don't know if that makes it flawed. Because
that doesn't make it flawed
at all.
if
you're doing a sampling and you know that there's an over sample of a particular opinion in a particular area, I don't know that you would take too much from that sample because you need the whole sample to be representative.
Yes, but you do not poll it. You need to be exact. Explain and know that you're not going to believe. Come with it.
No, but Richie, there is a math to it and how it is calculated.
Yeah,
and how
in
you
terms of sampling. So you don't want to oversample Tivoli where there's a over representation of labor rights, or you don't want to go to South St. Andrew where there's a oversampling of comrades.
What I think they should have done, take enough time to get the sample size.
Okay.
You understand me, sir?
Okay.
So for me, if I couldn't come with the sample size, it was flawed.
I have no reason to doubt Mr. Anderson's polls.
But all right, coming again now, you see?
Yes.
If PMP, Commissioner Paul,
yes,
and even if trading by far, could they come and tell their supporters that they're still in the poll?
I don't think they would release it, no.
They can't do that. They must tell them that they're leading the poll for them.
Here is what I think I would agree with you on. The polling is certainly being done in a very, let me say, selective way. What I mean by that, it's being done at a time or at periods where, when I've looked at it, where public opinion is either riled up about something or very unhappy with something.
Yes, so I remember index is high.
Right. So I remember they did polling immediately after, for example, that whole the car seat matter.
Car seat.
Right. With the Road Traffic Act, yes. And the ticket system and all of that, there was polling right after that. Then there was polling. I can't remember what the next thing was. But they certainly have, you've seen them tap in at a time when public opinion is riled up in a particular way. And remember, the poll represents just a snapshot of that particular moment in time.
Yes.
People's opinions change week to week, month to month, why sometimes even day to day. So I don't think we should beat up on the poll. Yeah?
Next question.
Yeah.
What does Margolin and the PNP do that they could be leading the poll?
But it doesn't have to be that they have done anything,
It's what
it could
probably what
simply
the
be what
government did.
what people see the government either not doing or have done.
Or have done.
Are they have to be saying them doing something better?
No. That's what I'm saying to you. People don't necessarily have to be saying we're happy with those guys,
Yeah.
They could just be saying we're unhappy with these guys.
Richard, remember that people vote sometimes against.
Yes, and
the
not
incumbent.
necessarily for.
Not necessarily for.
Which is what I think the PNP is banking on, that the vote will be a protest vote.
Okay, look at it this again. Do you know that we as Jamaicans does not vote mainly for MPs, we vote for leaders?
Yes. That's a conventional thinking, yes.
Yes. So to me, I would not agree that the Margolin could be leading.
But again, here is the problem with that analysis, Richie. A lot of the missteps of the government have been tagged to the Prime Minister. The People's National Party has a strategy, clear, well laid strategy, and they've been doing it for years, where they go after the leader of the JLP and try to weaken the leader of the JLP.
That's how the politics plays.
Right. So I'm saying over all these years, 8 years now of beating up on Andrew Holness, some of that will start to set in.
Not anymore, because people get to know enough about Margot and the PNP.
All right, you're hoping. All right.
Not hoping, I know.
All right, Richie. Thanks for the call.
Ricardo, I want to read a comment from JA_cynic on Twitter. He says, the PNP ran in race and class, or should be on race and class, for most of our lives, and now the PNP has a rich white banker as its head. And he says, if it wasn't for Mark Golin at the helm, the PNP would do you think that they would change? But in responding, it's the very thing that Ricardo indicated. We need to grow up. We need to move past this thing about race and class. I really don't like that style of politics.
Yeah. Donovan is reminding me that one of the polls was done right after the salary increase. Yes, that's true. The parliamentarian salary. That's absolutely right, Donovan. That was one. And I thought, Mona was also reminding me that another one was done after the local government elections. So yes, so right. So the polling has been done at strategic points, and I can't fault the People's National Party for that. If it's clear that the idea is to build momentum by putting out polling data that suggests that they're on the move, I can't fault them for that. It's the
and you can understand, Ricardo, that the misery index, as Daryl Vaz would say, would be high. Remember when one of the polling was done in his constituency?
Yes.
And there was the concern about
that was about the roads and the water.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. And he said it. He said the misery index is high. I am not surprised based on the results that you would have seen.
Yeah. And then he worked hard to make sure that they held on to the Portmore,
to the point
Portland,
now that
municipality.
That to the point now that Colin Bell in East Portland decided to step aside. And that interview also...
Mr. Bell said he never have nothing to do with it. He said he shall return.
That interview, Ricardo, was surprising to me, because if you are doing so well, as you indicated, why are you stepping aside?
The man said he shall return. 630-9371-246188255. Omalo, you're up next.
Hey, good evening, Ricardo.
How are you, my friend?
I'm great. Good evening, Sanjay.
Hello, Omalo.
Yesterday I called, but I never get to do something that was so very important to me.
What's that?
To pay my respect, my deepest respect, to Jamaica's greatest development finance minister and the prime minister, the most honorable Edward Philip George Seaga. Yeah? I never get to pay my respect to him yesterday, when God has put him in a place here in Jamaica, when two of the most difficult time in Jamaica, coming out of the 70s, when our economy was, we had no reserve.
Mm-hmm.
And right after Gilbert, when the country was wiped out,
Mm-hmm.
God has placed him in a place to lift this country up.
Mm-hmm.
And the people of Jamaica turned their back on him.
Yeah.
And are paying for those things right at this point. Because this is, I've heard people talking about other people as the greatest finance minister.
Mm-hmm.
But I can name at least 6 institutions that are here standing now.
And six would be a little bit because there's quite more than 6. Yes, yes. He was a builder of institutions, no doubt about that.
We are talking about finance minister build institutions for growth.
Mm.
We are talking about Petrojam, but when it was named ESSA, to give us energy security.
Mm-hmm.
We are talking about art,
yes,
to train the young people,
yes,
to make us competitive with the world. We are talking about Exim Bank. We are talking about Jampro. We are talking about what you call it, the stock exchange.
We might be here all night, Omar, if you go through the whole list.
We're going to go to 2. All right, let me go to 2 more.
National Development Bank.
Important one.
Yes.
We talk about white man.
Mm-hmm.
But this man has given us national heroes.
Yeah.
He was the minister of culture,
Of
when he introduced the national heroes. He was one of the first to promote Jamaica music before it even reached reggae music.
Mm-hmm.
Let us get what's her name? That thing, My Boy Lollipop.
Mm-hmm.
Huh? He is the one that established festival to give us pride as a black people.
Yeah. And you see why that race thing is so irrelevant? Because
it we never care about that, because
yeah, right.
This was the man that was going to save Jamaica.
Mm.
This was the man that was going to compete. His competitor was Lee Kuan Yew.
Yeah, I wanna recommend a book, Omalo, to the listeners as you're talking about the 1989 elections, and as you said, the Jamaican people turned their backs on Siaga. Politics versus Economics, the 1989 elections in Jamaica.
Is why they are suffering now. The people
by
of Jamaica,
Professor Carl Stone. I found it a very, very instructive read,
the people of
and I'd
Jamaica
recommend it to our
just
listeners.
Turned their back on Jamaica and Edward Siaga.
Mm-hmm.
This was orchestrated by the PSOJ. Them dress up but Michael Manley out of the bush suit when did I wear when from Castro days and put him in a suit and send him to Washington to meet the Secretary of State and come back and say him following all the Siaga plan them, and they put him in power to get one thing to change. And they get it changed. The Open Account Act, where they could move their money out of Jamaica to anywhere they want in the world. And that is why they crashed the economy in 1996. Based on the Open Account Act, that they get the opportunity. Because in the 70s, they couldn't just leave here with their money. There was restriction. And that is why they put him back there. Because Michael was better a civil rights leader than a prime minister. You know? Michael never knew understand how to...
That's a very interesting thing to say, Omalo. Say it again. You thought he was more of a civil rights leader?
Yeah, Michael Manley was a better civil rights leader than a prime minister.
I actually agree with Omalo.
That's a very interesting. I've never thought about it that way. I think, but I think what I would say is he was full of idealism, and I don't think that idealism was tempered by the economic pragmatism that was required to fulfill the idealism.
But you see, a civil rights
has to be idealistic, yes.
It's like a populist,
yes,
It goes with what, and the populist movement was the Black Power movement in Africa and in the United States, coming over into Jamaica in the 70s. And that is what Michael was running with. Michael never knew how to navigate the diplomatic waters, knowing that
the pragmatism required for that, yes.
Yeah, knowing that America was the economic force of the world.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's a very insightful contribution, Omalo.
Yeah, so I want people, I want these Jamaican people, I want Edward Seago respect to be given to Edward Seago in this country, and stop talk about when we speak of finance minister and the greatest. I want to know to stop it, man. Edward Seago is the greatest development leader in the Caribbean, in the Western world.
What do you say? What do you say, Omala, to those who say he had significant support and backing from the United States, which is
in the 80s?
Yes.
He had significant support,
and that's why he was so successful.
Because of his navigation, he was successful from in the 60s. He was successful.
Yeah, but it is a point though, Omalo, that in the 70s, in the late 70s, when Michael Manley had to go to the IMF and that IMF deal failed, the US, based on his posture, that's Michael Manley, they withdraw certain support, and they were given support, or given the support to
which
Edward
brought the
Seago,
country to its knees.
Brought the country to its knees.
When you are a leader, you must know what is it that you are leading, and you must know what the waters are that you are navigating through.
So you're saying that Michael should have had a better appreciation of the world environment at the time?
Let me tell you something.
Hold on. We're going to follow that through a little bit, because there are some who say what he was standing up for was our sovereignty as a small island state, that we should not kowtow to the United States.
Because remember that famous statement, Ricardo?
We will walk through this world on our feet and not on our knees.
We intend to walk through this world on our feet and not on our knees.
Yes.
Yeah.
Isn't that a fair thing for him to have said and to defend as a principle?
All of those things, was plain to the ignorance of the Jamaican people. That's all that was.
No, man, but it's not just about the ignorance of the Jamaican people, because he was standing for a principle of sovereignty.
What was he standing on?
Of sovereignty and self-determination.
Our sovereignty, when did we lose our sovereignty? We lose our sovereignty when Michael Manley signed the Open Account Act and Jamaican voting power becomes of no significance no more in Jamaica, because the elites control the election in Jamaica. So what are we talking about?
No, but it's still a point that Ricardo just mentioned. We were coming from the heels of independence, and Michael Manley
finding
was
our way in the world.
Yes,
in an
we need to find
international
our
world
way
in the world. Don't give me words. Tell me what was it that we were trying to find at the time.
Let me tell you. No, let me answer that. The US not coming into our country to dictate who we are friends with. Remember, the problem that the United States had was that we were getting too close to Cuba.
At the height of the Cold War.
Yes, and they were of the belief that Michael Manley was turning Jamaica into a communist state.
Yeah, and let me explain that to you. Because this is the ignorance of understanding the economics of this world and geopolitical power. Yeah? When we never had our sovereignty when we were underneath the British. Yeah? After the British lose World War II, after the British lost World War II.
You mean World War II?
Yeah? No, after the British won World War II with the Allies.
Yeah.
British was broke.
Right.
British couldn't take care of its colony no more. A new world order was set up.
Yes.
And Washington became the center of the world. We had no time in this world had our sovereignty fully to ourselves, because we are always signed on to treaty controlled by the greater powers of this world. So this misillusion that we are having.
So you're saying Michael Manley should have recognized the waters he was sailing in.
He saw what was happening in Cuba.
Yeah.
We were a poor country coming out of colonialism with an education level of an high school.
So he should have in other words, he should have been more pragmatic.
I'm going to say one thing before I leave. Michael Manley father, the first premier of this country. Yeah? From 1955 to 1961. Had a tremendous economic growth in Jamaica. That growth carried over into independence. It wasn't Bustamante them create the plans, the economic plans that they were.
Because that generation was clear. That generation was with the West. Bustamante and Manley were with the Western powers.
Listen, part of the problem, Omalo, that and where we went wrong, and I will say it, was we're pushing this idea of socialism, and I don't have a problem with that. But in essence, Manley put all the eggs in one basket, hinging on the bauxite levy. And when that failed, that was where we went downhill. Because remember, that point in the mid-70s was when he had to go to the IMF because he had nowhere else to turn to.
Let me explain something to you. A country must separate its economics from its politics. When you combine both, you're going to be in real trouble. You look at China, its economics of free market is different from its communism. We had a policy where our economics were tied to our politics in Jamaica, and that is where we went wrong in Jamaica in the 70s.
I don't disagree with that. I have to give somebody else a chance. Omala, I thank you for the conversation.
Okay,
very insightful contributions, my brother.
All right. And I want to say one other thing, Ricardo, because my master's
but
on the
and I don't disagree with that last statement he made. I think that's there's much value in that. Yeah,
of course. And the thing is, when individuals show that side of Manley, you have individuals who will respond to say, "What are you doing?" Because Michael Manley was a great leader. Yes. And regardless of what, we have to highlight some of the missteps that Michael Manley made in the 70s, and I think that it is for that reason why we had some of the financial issues that transcend right into the early 90s.
Yeah. I agree with Omalo that he certainly was not. He was not a pragmatist. He didn't see the world as it was. I think he saw the world as he hoped it could be or would be, and that, as Omalo is saying, is perhaps a misstep on the part of a leader in not recognizing the hand you were dealt and playing that hand in the best interest of your country. But it must be said, though, that on the balance between, as Omalo puts it, politics and economics, he chose the idealism of uplifting the masses. That should not be discounted. It came at a steep price, but it should not be discounted as something that was necessary in a country that was coming out and had just come out of such a tortured experience with colonialism and the vast majority of people being downtrodden.
Agreed. Yeah. Which is why many individuals saw him as that type of leader. Right. He was charismatic, the message that he was selling. Of course, we're not denying that, but some of the decisions on the economic front that Michael Manley
was costly.
Made, it was costly, and we paid dearly for it.
I agree. Indian, you're next. 630-9371-2461-8825. Good evening, Indian.
Hello, good evening to the panel.
Good evening.
I just wanted to ask if it is a national poll that said the PMP is leading.
Yes. The Don Anderson poll was a national poll, yes.
And by how many percentage?
Was it 8? Was the last time one, Sanjay? I think it was 8. 8%.
Yeah.
I think it was 8. Yes.
Check. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I never voted both. I did like Michael Manley. You two people talking about Michael Manley, but I did love Michael Manley. But I'm started to thinking no, you know?
Yeah.
I've been watching PJ and Portia. I love Portia too. What is turning me off now is that PJ said, when he said that, I was like my mind was out there when he pronounced these words. Black man time, you know? Yeah. And I was in myself, I said, yes, you know? At least we have somebody defending the black.
Yeah.
But when I see PMP turn around and go for a white man, it tells me that the party shift its foundation. you know. And I was going to vote for PMP, but I'm not going to vote for them again because they changed the principle of the party. Mark Golding changed the principle of the party and those who followed him. I don't think they should have Mark Golding leading the PMP, and that is one of the reasons why I'm not going to vote for PMP. If they have a black man leading the party, I will vote. But I'm not going to vote for...
Why?
I'm going to tell you,
bringing
this is my opinion. This is my
No, I'm not discrediting you. I'm just trying to understand why you would say if a white man is running the party, you wouldn't support the party.
No, I'm not going to support because in my time, in Siaga's time, I never support Siaga. Why? Because he was a white man. And
so you have a fundamental problem with somebody who
with
looks
a white
differently
man leading
from you.
my country. Why? You want the reason why?
But Mark Golding is a Jamaican. He's a born Jamaican.
It doesn't matter if he's a Jamaican or he's an American or he's an African. As long as he's a white man, I don't want him to lead me. Because I want to give you the why, because you're asking me the why.
Yes.
Remember, we were in slavery. And it's not our black brother in the Western Hemisphere did have us under slavery. It was white people. And he does something down in jungle in where I never like any at all. As a white man, claiming he's
he's a Jamaican, though.
But Indian.
He's a Jamaican.
Indian.
Yeah.
Mr. Golding's race or his racial heritage does not in any way diminish his commitment to Jamaica and his commitment to uplifting the Jamaican people. I don't think his race in any way diminishes that. Or his racial heritage. And, hold on, let me just finish the point. And the idea of, you mentioned white people and slavery. Mr. Golding is many generations removed from that.
Because of the history?
Yes.
It doesn't erase the thing that I read about slavery, the white people slaving black people. It does not erase those memories. And again, Mark Golding is not a person, to me, can be trusted. Because, why? Why? He knew he was a British citizen.
No, but that is two different conversations now you have.
My brother, the fact of his British citizenship was not a problem. He was lawfully present in the parliament.
Yes, I understood that, but let I tell you what I'm getting to. All the quarries about Mark Golding's citizenship, Mark Golding never came out and said, yes, I'm a citizen, till the pressure reaches him. And he started him talking. And you know what happened? He said to us that if the Jamaican people said he have to relinquish the citizenship, he will do so.
All right. Indian?
Yeah.
Let me just I hope you will reconsider, right? And I hope you will reconsider because I don't think in 2024 any Jamaican should be judging someone. And what I'm hearing from you is that you're judging him solely on the color of his skin.
No, not on the color of his skin. It is a part of it.
Yeah.
But on some pronouncement he made.
No, but you started with the color of his skin and his racial heritage.
Yes,
and I just want I want to deal with that part. That part, my brother, you should reconsider. I don't think racial prejudice should count at all in how you decide who you will vote for. I'm suggesting to you, my brother, that you should reconsider that. Objectively, that is a bad thing.
I'm telling you, I live in a community that to them. And a lot of them not going to vote for Mark Golding.
Yeah.
Because of what P.J. Patterson said and let us feel good. Black man time now. You understand? And the way he crushed Piaga with the black scandal bag and all of those. I think PMP had changed. They changed. They have changed.
All right, Indian. That's all the time we have tonight.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, man. Have a good one.
I really can't believe, Ricardo, that we're still
makes me
hinging
terrible
on this matter of race.
It makes me sad. I'm very, very saddened by those views.
In 2024.
Yeah, I'm very saddened by those views. If there are any Jamaicans who are listening and who have similar views, I would recommend that you reconsider those views. Race is not a criteria, should not be a criteria on which you rest a decision as to who should lead the country. It is not. Those views are intolerable, and no.
And regardless of what may have taken place in the past, it doesn't validate you having certain positions. Or telling us that Mr. Siago was treated a particular way, it was wrong.
Exactly wrong.
Yeah,
it was wrong.
Doesn't make
then,
it right now that
and it is wrong now.
Of course.
Yeah. Yeah. So I hope people will reconsider. I'm very saddened. I really am very saddened. But all right, that's all the time we have. Yeah.
By the way, Ricardo, Kamala Harris is making inroads in Georgia. I guess the bus tour paid off. The politics is getting nice.
Yeah. Dana Davey, thank you so much. Andrew Glenn Anderson, the man behind the controls, the pilot, thank you. Our colleagues in the newsroom, led by our editor, Kimon Thompson. Thank you all guys so much. The best in the business. You make the show possible. We appreciate you. Our listeners, whether you listened on radio, joined us on YouTube, our friends on YouTube still going strong. Boy, they're all weighing in on this racial issue. Yeah. Yes. Some are agreeing that it is a criteria that is necessary. Some saying no. And political analysts reminding me that the wound is deep. And it is a wound, political analysts, that we will have to heal. I'm Ricardo Brooks.
And my name is Sanjay Lewis. Thanks to all our listeners, and I'm wishing for you a wonderful weekend.
Good evening.
We can light up your world with the rays of the sun, putting pure energy in the palm of your hand.
For over 20 years, Fosrich has been putting a world of energy in your hands. Now we bring you big savings with our line of solar energy products and LED lighting. Financing now available for all your home and commercial retrofit projects.